y'all, how are we doing today? This is day 7 of the Karen Reed trial. So today on stream, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to do things how I normally do when I do the long trial coverage. I'm going to show you guys the highlights of some of the testimonies from today, and then we'll catch up with the live stream. They are about 3 hours ahead of me because they're in Boston, Massachusetts, or sorry, Canton, Massachusetts. I think Boston is like, I don't know how many hours drives. Okay, I'm not going to pretend to know, but I know it's like on the map, it's not that far. Okay, but here's the thing that I also realized when I was looking up Massachusetts on the map. I didn't realize Massachusetts is all the way over on the east side. For some reason, I thought Massachusetts was somewhere near Michigan. I need to restudy my map of America. Okay, I don't know. I was like, oh, wait a second. Massachusetts is like right there. Like Rhode Island's right there. Like, hello, Canada's right there. New York. Like, what the heck? I don't know why. I thought Boston, Massachusetts was like a little bit closer to Michigan. Hi, Spring. How are you doing today? How's it going? Yeah, we're streaming on the YouTube and on Twitch. Feel free to join me on either one. So let's start off with some testimonies. Let me tell you guys this. We are finally done with law enforcement. Yes, no more law enforcement testimony. Actually, I'm lying. There is going to be a little bit of law enforcement testimony. It's essentially the law enforcement that responded to the house to make sure John O'Keefe's nephews, nieces were okay. I think niece and nephew, right? So essentially, his sister passed away, and sister's husband also passed away, very close to each other, and he adopted those kids to be his own and took care of them, raised them. So there's a law enforcement that's going to respond to the house to make sure the kids are okay, just to check up on them, and that's about it. And then we finally get into some testimonies from friends, people that were with John O'Keefe and Karen Reed that night, the night they were drinking. We all want to know, how much was everyone drinking? Was John O'Keefe drunk? Was Karen Reed drunk? What was going on? How was their demeanor that night? Were they arguing? Were they fine? Were they just going out celebrating? So apparently they were going out celebrating because John O'Keefe's niece got into a high school, and they were all celebrating because it's a good thing, you know? So they all went out to a bar. They're hanging out, and yeah, we're going to watch into the testimonies. We'll listen to the bartenders, and then we'll catch up with the courtroom. All right. I don't know if I breathed once that time. I found the YouTube channel without the stream. If you go to, it should be up. It should be up and running right now. You have to go to like hold on a second. If you click on this, what is this? Watch new vlog. That's the link to the vlog, I think. Yeah. But feel free to watch on either one. But I hope you guys are doing well. And hello, hello. Let me get my text. Let me get this thumbnail off my screen. And I wore my pajama shirt. I don't know if you guys can tell. This is like my paint shirt. I got paint on here, my pajamas. But it's comfortable. And there's holes on here. But it's okay. I'm just too lazy to change my shirt today. All right, y'all. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of a glimpse of this testimony. This is law enforcement responding just to check on the house. This is John O'Keefe's house to make sure the children are okay.
Approximately 8. After we left and we weren't able to raise anybody, shortly thereafter, we subsequently we did find out that the children were staying with friends or family.
Yeah, so there was no one home, but here's the camera footage, here's surveillance, and I believe that right there, if y'all can see, I think that's Karen Reed's Lexus, I think that's her car. Now, whether or not we can see like a busted taillight or anything, I can't see shit. I'm going to be honest. I don't see anything. I just see snow covering it. But I think that's supposed to be Karen Reed's car. Hi, Dave. How are you doing today? Hello. How's it going today? Sorry. So this is not the surveillance footage of John O'Keefe. Sorry. This is the police dashboard footage. But he does have his own surveillance footage at home as well. I believe this is it right here. Yeah, this is probably one of the surveillance footage. You see that's law enforcement coming on up. I believe that's Karen Reed's car. Does that look like a Lexus to you guys? I should ask Dennis. Dennis would know. But I think it's Karen Reed's car. This is one of probably like a Ring doorbell camera. They're going up there. They're checking. So nothing really much going on with this testimony. You know, it's just them going by, checking on the house. No one's there. Next, we go to the next testimony of, I think his name is Michael. Is it Michael? Michael Camerano. So Michael Camerano also has children as well. And one of his daughters is really close friends with John O'Keefe's niece. Both of them got into this special high school. It's like a private high school. And it's like maybe probably really hard to get into. And they just want to go out there and they wanted to celebrate that night. So him, John O'Keefe, and some friends, they all go out at the bar together. This is a text message where they're like, oh, congrats. This is great news. Let's go celebrate. Blah, blah, blah. This right here, we're still with the same testimony of John O'Keefe's friend. Now, this is John O'Keefe's house surveillance footage that we're getting. he said that the reason why they're moving cars right now is because John O'Keefe wanted to make sure that Karen Reed would have a place to park. I think he wanted her to park in the garage maybe because they knew the snow was coming. So they just need to move the cars around a little bit so Karen Reed can park the car. And just keep in mind what John O'Keefe is wearing. This is before the snow came down, before the blizzard or 4 inches, 6 feet, 6 inches of snow, whatever it is you want to call it. This is before the snow came down, but John O'Keefe looks like, kind of looks like he's wearing some light clothes right there. I see jeans and maybe like a long sleeve shirt. So remember, one of the paramedics initially said, "Oh, when Mr. O'Keefe, when we responded to the scene, it seems like he was wearing a heavy coat, that he was well dressed for the weather." But then when they looked back on, on what he was really wearing, he was like, "Oh, okay, I probably remembered incorrectly." Because there were other paramedics that were like, "Yeah, like he wasn't really dressed for the weather. Like he just had on like a long sleeve shirt, like he had some jeans on, like." Seems like this guy just doesn't really like to wear coats, maybe. That's what the friend said. He rarely wears coats. He just kind of just goes out dressing like this, which is weird to me because I'm like, well, you live in Massachusetts. It gets really cold out there, but maybe it doesn't really get cold. So they're going to move the cars. And again, you can see what he's wearing right there. You want to see on YouTube? Yeah, feel free to watch it wherever you want. Outcast, hello. We're doing good. How are you?
Just up on the video, sir. It's just up on the screen as video number 148. That was what you had testified to previously as far as moving the cars.
Correct.
And why was that again?
So Karen could pull in the driveway, in the garage, excuse me.
Hi, Fire.
So the expectation, from your understanding, is that Ms. Reed was coming back to the house at Meadows later on that evening.
Correct.
Now,
and John just wanted to make sure that she had a place to pull her car through.
As Mr. O'Keefe from that video on the screen there was walking to the car, did you happen to notice how he was dressed?
Yes.
And as far as what you observed in that video, what you recall from that evening, is that how he was dressed that evening?
Yes.
And when I say how he was dressed, for sort of the entirety of the time that you were with him?
Yes.
So it's January 28th. You recall, you indicated there was a snowstorm coming. It was cold out, is that correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And with reference to that, was Mr. O'Keefe someone that would typically wear a coat?
No.
And ever? That you can recall?
Never that I could recall.
I don't know how he didn't get cold. Like, oh my goodness. Hi, Lily. How are you doing today? Hey, Corky. Hope you're having a lovely day. What's up, Lily? Did you have a good week? Hello, Nitros. Good morning to you as well. It is almost afternoon for me over here. Almost. It's still morning.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, with reference to that same Exhibit 6, if I could publish video number 149.
Okay. I live in Massachusetts. Believe it or not, Corgi, there are some people who wear shorts in the winter as soon as it hits above freezing temperature. People, trust me, I grew up and I was raised in the East Coast as well. I completely know what you mean. The moment when it's not super cold anymore and it's like a little bit of sunshine, people are out in sandals and in shorts. I'm like, y'all are crazy, okay? Because I have no meat on my bones. So I was always like, I'm so cold. But hi, Panda. How are you doing today? All right, so again, this is John O'Keefe's friend. Then we're going to go into the surveillance footage. We're still under the same testimony of Mr. Michael Camerano, but now we have one of the first bars that they visited. This is called, what is this bar? McCarthy, I think? McCarthy Bar, very small, very cozy. Karen Reed is right here. This is John O'Keefe, and I think the person that's testifying might be that might be him right there, I believe.
Forward to the 14-minute mark. Pause there.
So again, they're all out celebrating. They're at the bar together, having some drinks. I think John O'Keefe and the witness are having some Bud Lights, and it seems like Karen Reed was drinking something out of a clear glass with a lime on it. So I think they guessed it might have been like vodka or something. Another witness said it might have been gin and tonic or like vodka soda.
And if you could, I would ask that you play this from the 14-minute mark until about 14 minutes and 15 seconds, just about 15 seconds.
So this is the first bar that they were at. So there's a drink that Karen Reed is getting. So you can see like tall, clear glass with a little lime on there. Handing her a straw. She's popping the straw. Talking to John O'Keefe. It seems like, it doesn't look like they're fighting. It looks like just a normal day where they're just drinking, hanging out. No fighting so far. No animosity, at least that I can see. You don't know what they're whispering to each other, though.
And Ms. Gilman, you can take that down for now.
All right. So, and again, we can see what John O'Keefe is wearing. Same thing. So wearing gray, blue. I think it's blue, right? Gray, blue, long sleeves, like not a heavy winter coat or anything like that. Next, let's go over to. So this is the next morning after. And I believe that's Karen Reed's car, right? Can't really see anything. Busted taillight. Don't really see any of that. You're just stuck to the screen. Listen, this case is interesting. It's literally like a murder mystery because I'm like, who did it? Was it Karen Reed? Was it the Albert family? Was it some rando? Was it a like who? What happened? You know, it's truly a murder mystery because there's just so many questions and there's so many weird things happening at the same time from all sides that I'm just like, it's wild. It's very wild. The curiosity definitely got to the best of me. It's almost 4 a.m. What time do you usually go to sleep? Jeez. Hi, Moondog. How are you doing today? How's it going?
It's going to need to take that. So, Mr. Camarano, what was just in those last 4 videos that were played before the jury? Is that essentially the process that you were describing as far as yourself and Kaylee trying to get the garage door down?
Correct.
And so you leave from there and go back to your house, is that correct?
Yes.
And so where does sort of you and Kaylee go once you get inside?
We go into the house. We're in the kitchen in my house, and my daughter. We get my daughter.
Real life game of clues. So at this point, the witnesses found out that John O'Keefe never came home that night. Karen Reed is panicking. And then he realizes that there's no adults at the house where his daughter's having a sleepover at because his daughter is friends with John O'Keefe's niece and they're having a sleepover over there. So he goes over there to pick up his daughter because there's no adults there. And that's essentially where we're at right now. There's Karen Reed right there. Next witness, this is the wife of the previous witness that testified. This is, I forgot what her first name was, but we'll just call her Mrs. Camarano. It seems like she wasn't there at the bar where they're all drinking, celebrating because she was working at that time. She works as a nurse and all she knows is that she was at work and she got a bunch of frantic calls from Karen Reed. And essentially Karen Reed was asking, where's your husband? Where's your husband? Because she's trying to get in touch with her husband because the husband was the one that was hanging out with them at the bar previously. The Boston accent is throwing me off. I like it. I like the accents.
Now, at some point, I'm going to turn your attention now to the morning of the 29th. At some point, while you were at work, did you receive a call from someone?
Yes,
And who, if anyone, called?
Karen.
And about what time was that?
Probably between 4 and 5.
Whew, early.
And what, if anything, did the defendant say to you when she called you around 4 or 5 in the morning?
She was just screaming, "Where's Mike? Where's Mike?"
And was that a typical sort of situation that you would get a call from the defendant at that time?
No, not at all.
And the screaming that you heard or the phraseology of "where's Mike," is that something she said once or more than once or something?
She just kept saying it. She just kept saying, "Where's Mike?"
And what, if anything, did you say in response to that?
I was just like, hold on, calm down. And as I was doing, I was rechecking like the alarm. I said, he's home with the kids. Let me call him. And at some point I hung up. I called my husband, like, I don't know, probably, it felt like 100 times.
Now, you're at work when you get this call, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall sort of where you were, what you were doing when you got the call?
I was getting ready to draw like morning labs, so I knew it was between like 4 and 5 a.m. Somewhere early
What
morning.
is this sort of screaming as far as where's Mike? What, if anything, did the defendant indicate as to why she was asking?
John didn't come home.
And from your knowledge of John O'Keefe, was that something that was normal or not?
No.
So they are friends with John O'Keefe. They take turns watching the kids. Their kids are friends with each other. They do sports together, and they take turns like taking the kids out to the sporting events and all that stuff. Like, this is a pretty close family.
Now, during this sort of initial call with the defendant, what, if anything, did you hear sort of in the background of that call?
That first call? I don't think I heard anything in that.
Your memory exhausted as to that?
Yeah, I don't remember it.
I'm going to refresh his memory.
Ma'am, what I'm
refresh
going to,
his
if you
memory.
could just read that.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was the,
Anything further, may I approach
Yep.
this with you, John? Background of
yeah.
that call.
I could hear Kaylee in the background.
And you hang up on that call, and then what did you do?
Call Michael. And
At any point when you're calling Michael, I think you said you felt like it was about 100 times, did your husband Michael answer the phone?
he never answered. No,
And so after you called your husband, many times he didn't answer, what did you do?
I called either Karen's phone or Kaylee's phone back. I texted John, I think, twice. And then I could, whoever's phone I called, I could hear Jen in the background, that someone had called Jen too.
So you were speaking on the phone with either the defendant or Kaylee, correct?
Yep,
And you could hear someone named Jen in the background?
yep, I could hear her in the background.
And when you say you could hear someone,
Like it sounded, sorry,
no, so just as far as Jen, who is that?
Jen McCabe. She was one of Madeline's basketball coaches, so I know her voice.
Heard her sort of voice on the sideline?
Yeah, yep.
Did you know her personally at all?
I knew her as Madeline's coach.
All right, and then we're gonna get to text message between her and Karen Reed that morning.
Asking Karen, are you okay?
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down. And this next bubble,
Go back home so you're safe with Kaylee. He will end up home. I bet he's on someone's couch.
and the next bubble down, Ms. Gilman.
What's going on, Karen?
If you could scroll down a little further, Ms.
I
Gilman.
don't know why the camera's not panning to the text messages.
I'm driving around with Carrie and Jen.
And this is the text that you received from
From-
Ms. Reed to yourself.
Yes.
And is there a time on that associated with when that text was sent?
I can't read that from there. 5:53, does it say?
5:53 a.m., is that correct?
She already messed up. I don't trust her. She says she checks the camera to see if he's home, yet you say he was with the kids at home, yet never able to get your husband. I'm so confused. What? She checked the cameras and she made sure, I guess, her husband made it home that day with the kids there as well, because like she can check the surveillance camera and then like the times when like people come in and out and stuff like that. And then also she was trying to bring her husband, and her husband was probably either really tired, like sleeping off, like, you know, being hungover, or maybe his phone was on silence, although I would assume sometimes that when you have like your important people call you, it bypasses the phone, like do not disturb me. But, you know, I know people that can sleep through fucking anything, like my fucking sister. My sister used to have this fucking obnoxious ass alarm, and it was so fucking loud, and she would just fucking sleep through it because she was fucking crazy.
5:53, yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next message.
Wait, what's suspicious about that? I'm so confused.
Okay, is one of them driving?
And just to be clear, this is you texting me.
I'm texting Karen, yes. Is one of them driving? And then,
And why were you texting that, or why were you concerned about that?
because she was so hysterical, I didn't want her driving.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next message. And what, if any, response have you received from Ms. Reed?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could, scroll
So
down.
we're finally getting like a little mini timeline together.
And I said, okay, keep me posted.
Gilman, if you could scroll down.
At his brother's or mom's, ? Or the station he works at.
Both of those messages, about what time were those?
6 a.m.
And what, if any, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down, and then what, if any, response did you receive from the defendant, Ms. Reed, following those texts?
I don't think so. His bro is in West Bridgewater, Bridgewater.
So she's trying to brainstorm with Karen Reed where John could be at this point, because he didn't make it home. Maybe he's on someone's couch somewhere. Maybe he was at his brother's house, but Karen's like, no, brother's like not there. He's somewhere else.
And if you could scroll down again. Next message, ma'am.
Right, I'm sorry, I'm just brainstorming.
Next green bubble, ma'am.
It's okay.
And the blue bubble below that.
Any luck?
And that was a text you sent at approximately what time now?
6:34.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next.
And this is around the time where they find John O'Keefe's body.
And what was Ms.
Then-
Reed's response?
He's dead.
And again, at what time did you receive that text message from this?
6:34.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down. Yeah,
What, Karen? Are you serious?
that's a blue bubble, your response to her last statement.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again.
And then, Karen, do you have any idea where he is, or did you find him?
Lastly, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down one more time.
He was in the snow.
And that last message that you received, what time was that?
That was at 6:36.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that down. And Mr. Officer, if you could go like that. Thank you.
I don't know, Spring Thunder. I'm very confused. I'm very confused what you're trying to get at. Maybe I'm missing something?
Following that text message, the last one about 6:34 a.m., what, if any, other communication did you have with the defendant that morning?
Nothing.
What, if any, other communication did you have with the defendant since then?
None.
Now, as far as any of the other people that you spoke of, as far as talking to that morning, Ms. Roberts or Kaylee, did you have any further conversation with them in regard to what was going on?
No.
I wonder if she tried calling, she tried communicating, and like Karen Reed just didn't respond back or something like that.
I may have just.
I'm a little confused, like, about the state prosecutor's question, and then where he was trying to lead with that.
One moment, ma'am.
Hi, Chris. Hello.
Nothing further.
All right, so those are the text messages. And then next we go to another friend. His name is Kurt Roberts. He is the husband of Carrie Roberts. So again, remember when Karen Reed found John O'Keefe in the snow, she was with Jen McCabe and she was with Carrie Roberts. They were driving around trying to figure out where he was, and they essentially found him out there in the snow. This is the husband. We haven't heard from Carrie Roberts yet. I can't wait to get to Carrie Roberts and to Jen McCabe. So again, take note. This is what John O'Keefe is wearing. You don't really see him wearing much. I don't see a winter coat. This is for the guy who testified earlier, maybe. And then this is the witness who's coming in right now, I believe. I think it's Kurt Roberts.
Just a moment. The gentleman that just came in through the door, do you recognize him, sir?
Yes, I do.
And who do you recognize him?
That's me.
Him right
So
there.
that was about the time that you arrived, is that correct?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just continue with another for a few seconds.
So now there's four friends hanging out. At this point, Karen Reed has not arrived at the bar yet. She'll come a little bit later. But from all the friends' testimonies that we've heard so far, and even John O'Keefe's family members, they all say, like, Karen Reed and John, they seem fine. However, John would get mad at Karen because Karen seemed to, spoil the kids, like take the kids out to get like fast foods or like getting their nails done and stuff like that. But other than that, it seems like their relationship was fine. It seems like they were fine at the bar that night. Nothing was really going on between the two of them. But, you never know what goes on behind closed doors. But so far, it seems like everyone just says, yeah, their relationship seems fine so far. There was an argument that apparently happened in Aruba, but I'm sure they'll grab a witness to testify about that. They also asked him later on, they were like, oh, okay, so like when you said goodbye to Karen Reed, did it seem like she was like drunk or anything? Did it seem like she was slurring her words? And it's like, no, she seemed kind of fine. Because we're all trying to figure out, okay, how drunk was everybody? But again, this is the first bar that they were at. They do go to a second bar after this, and that's called The Waterfall. So this is the bartender. This is basically where I'm at right now, and then we'll catch up with the court in real time. So I'm going to have this a little bit sped up. But this is a bartender who works at the second bar where they all end up hanging out before they go to the Albert's home, I believe.
Performing at the waterfall, where is it in regard to the layout that you were describing that band would typically set?
When you walk into the building, it's left of the high tops. There's like a small alcove. We move tables for them.
And once the band is done, what, if anything, do you do with that space once the band clears out?
We put the tables back.
Now, with respect to the waterfall, are you familiar with whether or not there's any sort of security or camera recording in there?
There's cameras.
And as far as the cameras are concerned, you know sort of where they're situated in relation to the bar.
I think her husband might be the murderer and she's covering for him, but he has an alibi. There's home video footage of him coming home when he was supposed to be there, when John was supposed to be missing. And I think he left the bar. I don't know if he even made it to the second bar. I think he left after the first bar to go pick up his... Was he the one that went to go pick up his son or something like that was skateboarding? Or may have been a different guy. There's been no one's pointed their fingers at her husband whatsoever.
For the most part, yes.
And fair to say there's at least
Unless you're
some
getting him
interior
mixed up
cameras,
with like a different family.
some exterior, correct?
Yes.
Because people are pointing their fingers at the Albert family, but not the Camerano family.
And with regard to this specific evening of January 28, 2022, have you had occasion to see some of that video from that particular evening?
Yes.
You know, may I approach?
Yes.
At this time, I would seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibit a copy of the surveillance video from the waterfall.
Okay, is there any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right, surveillance footage at the waterfall.
That you were referring to as sort of the front door that leads out to the parking lot for both condo facing football.
Yes.
And the video, as far as you're aware, is date and time stamped, and those dates and times are accurate, correct?
The date, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Gilman, you can take that down. And Ms. Gilman, if I could have from channel 3, the first video associated with channel. And if you could just pause.
Okay, inside the bar.
So Ms. Traers, before you,
Oh God, what is this? What is the white balance like this?
I think on that desk should be a
The footage is not as great as the other waterfall bar. The other bar.
laser pointer.
Mhm.
So basically, all you need to do with that is just click the button on top and then point it at the screen, if and when I ask, or anybody asks.
Okay.
So again, what's up on the screen right now? Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that?
The lounge area of Waterfall.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention first to that area that you were speaking about where a band would normally perform.
Let's find it right here.
And that's where the band was that night.
Yes.
And the high tops and low tops, if you could, direct the jury's attention to where those would be located.
So these are the 6 people ones, the 2 people, and then low tops.
But the jury can see for themselves. These are the high tops and low tops. Why does she need to point it out?
And as far as the bar area where you would be situated within,
Okay, I'm gonna skip through his questioning and get to the important part.
Ms. Traers, directing your attention up to the video up to the screen for the video that's now up there. You recognize this to be the waterfall as well.
Yes.
The timestamp on it says 1:29, 12:01. Is that the AM? Is that correct?
Correct.
And it's fair to say that or what any difference do you know sort of about the lighting in this video versus the one from earlier around 10:30 p.m. So,
This one's brighter.
and why is it?
We are getting ready to close.
So you would have turned the lights on at that point.
Yes.
And as you're closing, what are some of the sort of final things that you're doing as you're sort of closing up shop?
Cleaning up.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to push this forward to about 15 minutes and 45 seconds.
Is that the party back there?
And Ms. Traers, from the date and time stamp up there, about what time is this? Does it say on screen?
12:16 a.m.
So everyone's
And
left.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play this from this point till about 16 minutes and 8 seconds.
Or everyone's leaving. Okay, see 2 guys leaving. A
Pause
woman.
there just a moment.
Not
The
Carrie.
individual sort of walking from the top of the screen down towards the bottom, towards that front door area. Is that where the front door is?
Yes.
And if you could, just for the jury, just using the laser pointer, direct their attention to where that
Are those
front
the
door is.
workers?
Right here.
The
You
jury
recognize
can't
who that
see.
person was?
Yep.
Who's
Yes.
that?
That's me.
You were basically taking the trash, correct? Ms. Gilman, if you could just run through with that. Thank you. You can stop there and you can take that down, Ms. Gilman. Thank you very much.
I thought they had footage of him
Now-
leaving with the cocktail glass in his hand. Did I skip that?
From that evening of January 28th, 2022, I'm going to ask just a couple of people's names and then ask if you know them or recognize them as far as sort of people that you've seen in that establishment before. First, with respect to John O'Keefe,
I know of him
and was he someone that you had seen in the waterfall before when you were working there?
a couple times.
Did you know him specifically by name, or did you just sort of know him as a familiar face?
First name.
And what is it typically that, as a bartender, what is it typically that he would sort of order or get when he was?
I couldn't tell you. Don't know.
And really, I'm just asking as far as beer versus cocktail versus whatever else, if you know.
Hi, Terry. Terry says if you're drunk, boyfriend doesn't, is that what it says? Come home. Why is the first instant of panic rather than think he's on the couch somewhere? Well, it's possible that maybe she's a panicky type, anxiety type. Maybe because you know how they said that there was possible allegations of like him cheating. What if she panicked and thought that like he was out cheating on her? I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think that like if that happened to me, would I be panicking, like yelling and screaming, crying like that? I don't know. I have to know like like at what point did she start screaming on the phone to people? Like was she like contacting a bunch of people and then she realizes, oh shit, like he's not there, he's not here, he's not there. And that point, that's when she started panicking. I don't know. I don't know. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, where is everyone? And like, try to get in contact, maybe show up at the house where I drop him off at. But I don't know. Sometimes people are, I don't know. I have to know more details about when she found out, when, like, and all that stuff. So far, it just seems like she couldn't really sleep or something. She woke up, she realized John hasn't came home yet. And then she might have called some people, and that's when she started panicking. But I don't know the order and the timeline of which she called people. We love to see her phone records and all that. But we're getting it in slowly through all the witnesses, just slowly. But I hope you're doing well, Terry. Hello, hello.
I'd say beer.
And do you recall seeing him in the waterfall on January 20th?
Yes.
And could you describe what any interaction you had with him or when about that was in the evening?
He came up to order a beer.
And at the end of the night, there was one group that was sort of the last group to leave. Is that correct?
Yes.
And where were they sort of situated in the bar?
The high top, in the lounge closest to the bar.
And what, if any, association did you see with Mr. O'Keefe with regard to that group?
I believe he was standing with them.
Could you keep your voice up, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
And ma'am, if you want, so that microphone, you can move anywhere, so wherever is most comfortable. Thank you. Now, were you familiar with anybody as far as a female party that would accompany Mr. O'Keefe to the waterfall on that or prior occasions?
No.
And had you seen Mr. O'Keefe in there with or without any sort of female companionship?
Previously?
Yes.
No. Not that I'm aware of.
I'm sorry?
Not that I'm aware of.
Absolutely. Now, with regard to Christopher Howard, did you know him?
I know of him.
And you're familiar with him as far as someone who came into the waterfall on occasion?
On occasion, yes.
About how often would he be in?
Once every few months.
And do you recall him on the evening of January 28th?
I actually don't remember.
And anybody, as far as anybody else from the Albert family, as far as Brian Albert, were you familiar with him?
I know of them.
And do you recall him being there on January 28th?
Yes.
And where was he in relation to the group that was at the high top table closest to the bar?
Same area.
And who, if anyone else from that group, did you recognize or did you know on that evening?
The only people I would have recognized would be Brian Higgins and Brian Albert's wife.
And do you even know what Brian Albert's wife's name is?
I forget.
And Mr. Hicks, is that someone that you had seen in there on prior occasions?
On occasion, yes.
I think Nicole, right?
And
Nicole Albert.
as far as Mr. Brian Albert, is that someone that you had seen there on prior occasions as well?
Same on occasion.
And had you seen Mr. Higgins and Mr. Brian Albert there together on prior occasions as well?
Yes.
Following the waterfall, speaking with you and speaking with the owner of the waterfall.
I spoke with them, not at Waterfall.
And are you at least aware that they received from the establishment not only the video but some receipts from that evening as well?
Yes.
And have you seen those receipts on some prior day?
One.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I can show the receipts.
Documents, receipts that are generated by the establishment before, correct?
Yes.
Do those appear to be receipts from the waterfall?
Yep.
Is there any sort of date?
I'm sorry, was there a yes or no answer?
Yes.
Thank you.
And with respect to the receipts that I placed before you, do they have a date on them?
Yes.
And what is the date?
1/28/22.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'll seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibit.
Okay.
No objection.
Okay.
Is it me? She kind of looks like Amber Heard.
you.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like her face.
I mean, with regard to some of the people that I'd asked you about, as far as Mr. O'Keefe, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Christopher Albert, any of those parties that you knew them sort of exclusively through your work at the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further on.
All right, Ms. Giannetti?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wait, okay, hold on. Let me go back here really quick because I'm trying to see where they're at. So it seems like that's their party right there, or is it over here? Oh no, there's another set of high tops right there. Oh, you could barely see shit.
So basically, all you need to do with that is just click the button on top and then point it at the. You recognize that. Using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention first to that area that you were speaking about where a band would normally. If you could recognize that.
Yes.
And where do you recognize that?
The lounge area of Waterfall.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention first to that area that you were speaking about where a band would normally perform.
Let's right here.
that's where the van was that night.
Yes.
And the high tops and low tops, if you could, direct the jury's attention to where those would be located.
So
The captions.
Our
Good.
area where you would be situated within the establishment when you're working as a bartender, whereabouts, if you could, direct the jury's attention to whereabouts that would be.
all the way back here.
And sort of immediately adjacent or right in front of sort of where the bar area is, what kind of table or what, if anything, is closest to the door?
High top.
Now,
High tops over here.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to take that one down.
Okay, so I guess they're not going to go into more details with the surveillance in this one. All right, let's go to cross-examination.
Do they have a date on them? Brian Higgins there, correct?
Correct.
Did you see the two? Okay.
Right there. Okay.
Agree with me that they are well-known of Canton. People that I'd asked you about, as far as Mr. O'Keefe, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Christopher Albert, any of those parties that you knew them sort of exclusively through your work at the Waterfall, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, cross-examination.
Prior to being a bartender at the Waterfall, did you have another bartending job somewhere else?
Yes.
Where was that?
I've worked at a couple places.
In what towns or cities?
A couple in Canton.
And the couple in Canton, was that immediately prior to moving to the Waterfall?
Yes.
All right. And we don't have to get into the names of them, but how many years were you a bartender in Canton prior to going to the Waterfall?
Prior to the Waterfall, about 4.
Okay. So for about the last 11 years, you've been a bartender at one establishment or another in the town of Canton, correct?
Yes.
Are you from Canton?
I am.
Did you grow up in Canton?
Yes.
And you no longer live in Canton?
I recently moved back.
Now you're back. I got you. Okay. And you had, I believe, testified on direct examination that you either know or know of the Albert family.
Correct.
You would agree with me that they are a well-known family in the town of Canton?
Objection.
Overruled.
Do I answer that?
Yes, you can answer. You can answer.
So you can't.
I would say yes.
Okay. And how many members of the Albert family do you know, either personally or professionally? And by professionally, I mean obviously you're a bartender, and personally means that you know them in some other way.
It would only be professionally, and I'd say 3 or the whole family of the Alberts. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
5 of them.
Okay. And if I asked you the names of the Albert family that you know, would you be able to tell this jury?
Yes.
If you would do that, please.
There's Brian Alberts, Chris Alberts. I can't remember their wives' names at the moment.
You know their wives by face?
Yeah, and then Brian's daughter, Caitlin.
Okay. And specifically with regard to Caitlin Albert, can you tell us, is there a difference in age between the two of you? Is she closer to your age than the others?
She's closer to my age. She's younger than me.
Okay. Did you see Caitlin Albert at the Waterfall on the night of January 28th into the 29th of 2022?
Yes.
You also mentioned that you had seen somebody named Brian Higgins there, correct?
Correct.
He was somebody that you recognized prior to that day, correct?
Correct.
And how did you know or come to recognize Brian Higgins?
From Waterfall.
Did you know his name, specifically his last name, on January 28th when you were working that night?
Yes.
When did you learn his name, if you remember?
I don't remember.
At some point in the past, when you'd been in the bar, for some reason you knew his name, Brian Higgins.
Yes.
And you had testified, I believe, on direct examination that you had seen Brian Higgins with Brian Albert at the Waterfall on prior occasions.
Correct.
So, Ms. Giannetti, it's time for lunch. I don't imagine you'll finish in 5 minutes, right?
It won't be too much longer than that, but it's probably good to
Just
take.
Okay,
lunch.
thank you. All right, Ms. Trey's, I'm actually going to come back at 2.
She always has a habit of doing this, where it's like, hey, we're in the middle. Like, let's just break really quick, okay? All right. Let's see, lunch. We're almost caught up. We are almost caught up. We're only a little bit behind.
John O'Keefe as a prior customer in the bar, correct?
Correct.
And that particular night, John appeared to be in a good mood. Would you agree?
Yes.
In fact, John is a pretty good tipper.
I wouldn't really know.
But with regard to that particular night, there was one receipt that was introduced in Exhibit 54. You probably didn't take a close look at it.
No.
But if I suggested to you that there was a receipt for a total of $16.58 worth of drinks, and John put a tip down of $10, that'd be a pretty good tip, right? And do you need to see the receipt to confirm that, or?
No.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually watched one of Karen Reed's interview, but it was like a very short, chopped up interview that I watched from, I don't know, maybe like a year ago or something. She did mention that John is pretty cheap, but maybe not with tipping. Hello, Turbo. How are you doing today? How's it going?
And that night, John's demeanor seemed fine. Would you agree?
Yes.
You didn't notice John buying drinks for a woman that night, did you?
No.
And with regard to your sort of scanning the people that were there within that group. One of your duties as a bartender is to make sure that nobody's overserved, right?
Correct.
And so, while you don't watch every movement all the time, you do look for signs that somebody might be overserved, correct?
Correct.
And with regard to the group that came in, the receipts for which you were shown today, nobody really seemed highly intoxicated to you, correct?
No.
I'm doing good, Turbo. Thanks for asking. Hello, Study for Money. Interesting name. What is this case about? Oh God, it is a whole mess. But essentially, Karen Reed's on trial right now. She's accused of drunk driving and essentially hitting her boyfriend with the car and then leaving him out there to die in the cold. But her defense is saying that she was set up and she didn't do it.
Let me just have a moment.
Yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you, ma'am.
It's a murder mystery.
No, read it right, John.
All right, Ms. Treyas, thank you very
Oh my God, that's all he had to ask her. See, if the judge just let her finish the cross-examination, she wouldn't have to. She wouldn't have to wait to come back until after lunch. She could have been dismissed for the day. Oh man, maybe the judge just needs to eat like on time.
much.
Thank you.
May I approach the counsel table to deliver this exhibit back?
Yes, I was actually just looking for it, so yes, please, thank you.
Sorry.
Next witness, Mr. Lally?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Mr. Nicholas Kolokithis to the stand.
Mr. Who now? Mr. Who was the last name? Kofukiki? What? I can't wait for him to spell his name, please.
Tori, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, what's the name of this witness?
You tell us whether you ever to do the court during the case and the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Sweeping the nation? No. Big news? Definitely huge local news, but I wouldn't say sweeping the nation, no.
Thank you.
Hi, Lisette. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hi, good guy.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What's up, Kendrick?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Oh, Kendrick. I saw you in someone's chat. I was in, whose chat were you in? You're in someone's chat. I was popping in someone's stream. Whose was it? Whose stream was it? I was in someone's stream and I saw your name on there. Anyways, I just want to say I saw your name on there. I don't know whose stream it was, though. Zoomy? No, I don't know who Zoomy is. I don't think it's Zoomy. Who's Zoomy? Who was it? Yeah, it was definitely an Asian girl. It was an Asian girl, I think. Was it an Asian girl? But I don't remember who it was. I don't think it was Zoomy. That name doesn't ring a bell.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name?
It's Nicholas Kolokithis, Kolokithis.
Hold on. He's spelling it right now, and I'm not catching up. Kolokithis. Is that... What does it sound like? Does that sound Greek to you guys? Kolokithis.
Yes.
And where do you live, sir?
Canton,
And how long have you lived?
21 years.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canton?
My wife and 2 children.
Oh! Classic Christine. Yes! It was Classic Christine. Yeah! She's cool.
Wife's name?
Karina,
And your 2 children, how old?
18 and 16.
Are they both girls?
Yes.
And do you work, sir?
Yes, I do.
What do you do?
I'm an attorney.
And how long have you been practicing as an attorney?
27 years.
And does your wife work?
Yes, she does.
And what does she do?
She's a pharmacist.
Now, if I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
Yes, I do.
Were you working that day?
I was.
Were you working in the office or remotely? Or?
We were hybrid. I was working remote that day.
Now, as far as that evening was concerned, what, if anything, were the plans, and sort of what did you do that evening?
Sure. My older daughter was on the Canton High basketball team, so we were planning to go. I was planning to go to the basketball game, and I did go to the basketball game. Yes.
And where was the basketball game? Do you recall?
Canton High School.
And your daughter at that point, which team did she play?
She was coming off an injury, and she was playing football with the JV and the varsity team.
So she was sort of swinging between JV and varsity.
Correct.
And so, what time were each of the games that evening?
God, I think the JV was around 5 or so, and the varsity 6:30, 6:45.
And do you recall who they were playing?
Foxborough High.
And when you arrived to the game, as far as where is it that you typically sit when you go to a basketball game?
There was a group of 5.
Is he a friend of John O'Keefe, maybe? Or maybe their daughters are friends? Or sorry, John O'Keefe's niece and his daughter, maybe they're friends?
5 parents or so, including us. We generally sat together most of the games.
And who, if anyone else, was among those parents who sat?
Specifically, the McCabe's, the Fitzgeralds, Galleries, and Tom Beatty.
And these are people you know as sort of parents of other children that are on the team?
Yes.
And as far as is that who you sat with on this occasion, if you recall?
I believe so.
Elaine. I'm like traumatized now. Yeah, what if any is Elaine? Connections, Jody. And Truth with the capitalized T, Jody. And there was another one too that that gets to me. I'm like, oh God, I can't hear that word normally anymore. It's just ruined now by all these crazy people.
And your wife, did she come to
Sorry, I
one
take that back. I don't consider Aileen a crazy person.
of both games?
She came to the second game, the varsity game.
And about what time did that game go?
Maybe someone that
The
drives you
varsity game?
crazy.
It went into overtime. It was a back and forth game. Later than usual. I don't remember the exact
Okay, I'm
time.
going to speed through this because I don't know where we're going with this.
One.
We lost. Foxborough won.
Now, following that, following the basketball game, where did you go from there?
As usual, we waited for our players to come out, our daughters to come out. And the same group of parents were deciding if we should continue, go out somewhere, get something to eat. I was hungry.
Oh, okay. So maybe him and the McCabe's, the Alberts, maybe they decided to go out to the bar, and that's where they met up with John O'Keefe.
Anybody who knows me doesn't get between me and my food, so I was very hungry, so wanted to get something to eat.
I think.
And where did you decide to go?
Went to the waterfall.
Is that somewhere that you had been before?
Yes.
Went to Waterfall.
Now, with regard to the waterfall, as far as the other parents were concerned, what if any other parents from the ones that you described, as far as the ones you said at the game, what if anyone else went?
Jennifer and Matt McCabe.
And how was that was that communicated to you as far as the person, via text, or phone, or how did you come to the waterfall?
It was via text.
And so you get a text from who?
I wonder if it was on the news like, oh my God, guys, winter snowstorm coming. Like, we have a blizzard coming. Everyone's like, fuck it, it's nothing. Let's just go out drinking.
Specifically directing you to sort of go to the waterfall.
So it was a group text amongst the 5 sections.
Actually, hold on a second. When I was in the East Coast, we actually didn't really take it seriously. We'd still go out drinking at the bars and stuff like that. And then it'd be snowing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we were just like,
Families
Not a big deal.
and different ideas were bantered about in a group text, and I decided to go to the waterfall.
And when you get to the waterfall, being familiar with the establishment, where is it that you park in reference to the waterfall?
I parked behind Washington Street. There's a small little parking lot. Waterfall shares a parking lot with other establishments, and I believe condos, so I parked in the back.
And about what time did you get there?
I got there right around 9-ish, a little bit before 9 o'clock.
And with anyone else from that group of parents besides yourself in the caves went to the waterfall that night?
So I walked in, it was a large table, probably about 8 to 10 feet long. In addition to Jen and Matt McCabe, there was Jen's sister, Nicole Albert, her husband, Brian Albert, Brian's brother, Chris Albert, and his wife, Julie. And there were others that I was just introduced to for the first time. So I don't remember their name, I don't recall their names, but there were others at the table as well.
And so as far as the other sort of basketball parents, were any of them there as well, beyond the McCabe's?
Beyond the McCabe's, no.
And as far as the other people who weren't, didn't have the last name McCabe, how did you know any of those?
Okay, so the Alberts and the McCabe's, they weren't out celebrating with John O'Keefe's and his group of friends. Theirs is like a total different group right now. But they probably know of each other and maybe know each other.
Or did you know those?
At the waterfall? I had met Nicole, Brian, Chris, and Julie prior, I think, other basketball games, other events. So I knew them through the McCabe's, through Jen.
And the McCabe's had a daughter on the basketball team as well?
They had one of their daughters on the team at the time, yes.
And when it came to the McCabe's, there's Mr. and Mrs., what are their names?
Jennifer and Matt McCabe.
How long have you known Jennifer and Matt?
About 9 or 10 years ago we met.
And at some point during the course of the evening, did your wife join you at the waterfall as well?
She did.
Fair to say you took separate cars, is that correct?
We did, yes.
And about how long after you arrived did your wife join you?
I want to say it was about a half hour or so. So around 9:30 she arrived.
Now, with reference to this table that you were referencing, about 8 to 10 feet long, is that correct?
Correct.
And was this a high top, low top? What kind of table is it?
It was a high top table towards the bar end of Waterfall. I don't know if it was the last table or second to last table right before you hit the bar.
And as far as the people that you described, the people that you knew or didn't know, where were they sort of situated around the table?
When I first walked in, I saw Matt, since he was the person I was most familiar with, Matt and Jen. Matt was standing towards the right side of the table as you're walking in towards the right side, so I went to the right side of the table.
Is that essentially where you stayed for the balance of most of the night?
Yes.
And your wife, when she arrived, where did she go in reference to?
Initially, she came to me, said hello. I think she picked for my food. And then she gravitated, I believe, towards the left side of the table where more of the women were located.
And at some point following that, was there anyone else that you knew or aware of that came into the bar?
Yes.
And about what time was it?
Shortly before 11 or right around 11.
And who was that?
It was John O'Keefe and Karen Reed.
And these are people that you were familiar with prior to that day?
Yes,
And just to be clear, when we're talking about Karen Reed, you see Ms. Reed in Portland today?
I do.
And could you describe this as to where she's seated or an article of clothing she's wearing?
She's seated at the table to my right, second person in from the right.
That's a record reflect identification of the pen light. Yes. Thank you. Now, how did you know John?
John O'Keefe had adopted his niece and nephew. His niece is the same age as my younger daughter. And they were playing basketball together. They've been friends for years. So I got to know John through my daughter.
Now, as far as Ms. Reed, when was it that you met her, or when was it that you became sort of aware?
Sure. I believe it was towards the end of the summer of 2020. I dropped my daughter off at John's place on Meadows. Karen was there. It was the first time I met her. So it was 2020.
And with reference to yourself and your wife as a couple and Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, how often would you sort of see?
As couples, not too often. I would see John on a weekly basis during the basketball season, sometimes multiple times a week during the basketball season. But as couples, maybe a couple of times we had seen them.
So fair to say most of your interaction with them would be at sort of sporting events or things for the kids.
Yes.
Now, as far as on that evening, obviously you went out, you had something to eat. Did you have anything to drink as well?
I did.
And do you recall sort of what you were drinking that night?
Captain and Coke.
And as far as John O'Keefe, do you recall sort of what he was drinking that night?
Yes.
And what, if anything, do you recall?
Beer.
Is that sort of typical for Mr. O'Keefe?
From the occasions we happen to be out on events like that, yes.
Now, as far as Ms. Reed, what, if anything, did you observe her to be drinking at the waterfall?
What's your guys' drink of choice when you guys go out?
She was holding a cup, a glass with a clear liquid.
And what was your understanding of what was in the cup of clear liquid?
I don't know what was in there, but I don't know if it was water or alcoholic drink, but I don't know for sure.
An atmosphere within the bar that night, how would you describe that?
Generally, it was a fun atmosphere. There was a live band. Everybody was in a good mood. I think people were singing to some of the music, so it was a fun atmosphere.
Soda? Nice. Wait, what kind of soda?
Specifically, you didn't observe
Coca-Cola is like my weakness. I have to stay away from drinking Coca-Cola.
anything as far as arguing or anything between Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, is that correct?
That is correct. I did not.
And you didn't observe anything as far as arguing or anything between anyone at the bar that night, is that correct?
That is correct. I did not.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe was concerned, do you recall what he was wearing when he was in the bar?
Yes, he had a dark baseball cap, jeans, sneakers, and he had some type of top, a longer sleeve top.
At any point in time, did you observe him to have a winter coat or a jacket or anything like that?
Not that I recall.
As far as his clothing was concerned, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the condition? Were there any tears or anything in his clothing?
No tears, nothing unusual about the clothing.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe himself, what, if any, injuries did you observe on him at the time that you saw him at the bar?
I didn't observe any injuries.
Now, as far as prior to them coming into the waterfall, do you have any idea of sort of where they were coming from?
Yes, I did.
Was the defense trying to say that he had a winter jacket on, or what? Or no?
And how did you know?
I knew through Matt McCabe. Matt had said that they were at Waterfall at CF McCarthy's, and they were heading over. We had a live band, and they were coming over to our place.
As far as where they come from, prior to them coming into the waterfall, do you have any idea of sort of where they were coming from?
Yes, I did.
And how did you know?
I knew through Matt McCabe. Matt had said that they were at Waterfall at CF McCarthy's, and they were heading over. We had a live band, and they were coming over to our place.
As far as the live band was concerned, about how loud was it in the waterfall during that time?
It was fairly loud.
Now, towards the end of the night, what, if any, discussion did you observe or were you a part of as far as sort
Oh, did he go back to the house too?
of anywhere people were going out?
I don't think he did.
Again, we were at this larger, 8, almost 10-foot table, and most of the discussion was happening towards the other side of the table, but there were a couple of places that people were discussing about potentially going.
And what were those couple places people were discussing?
One was two D&Es, which was across the street next to CF McCarthy's, and the other one was 34 Fairview Road.
And as far as D&Es, are you familiar with that establishment?
Yes, I am.
And what is it and where is it in relation to what?
It's basically a sub shop, pizza shop. It's diagonally across the street from Waterfall.
Oh, get some
And
food.
what, if any, relationship did the D&E Pizza have to anyone that you observed in the group?
Chris Albert, who was with the group, was one of the owners, if not the owner of D&E.
Oh, it's
And
his
as far
pizza
as
shop.
going to that place afterward, who, if anyone among the group, had sort of mentioned that or was talking about it?
I didn't hear specifically one person. It was just generally coming from the group. So
Did you hear the defendant at any point talking about going there or wanting to?
I heard from others that she had mentioned about wanting to go there.
Now, you mentioned a couple of different places. What was the other?
34 Fairview Road.
And was it mentioned specifically as far as that address, or how was it referenced?
I believe it was mentioned. Brian Albert, the homeowner, had invited the group back to his house. I can't remember if it was come back to my house or come back to 34 Fairview, but that was his residence.
And so was that sort of an open invitation to the group at the table?
Yes.
And
Open invitation, okay.
yourself and your wife, did I?
Because that's important whether or not it was like an open invitation or not, because Karen Reed felt like she wasn't really close to this group, and she said that she never heard an extension of an invitation at her or at them at all, so she wasn't really sure she was truly invited, and that's why she was like kind of like hesitant of going. And then when she ended up dropping when she ended up dropping off John O'Keefe off at the house, she was waiting outside to see if everything was good or not, and then he never called her back apparently, and she got pissed, and then she left him a bunch of angry voice messages. That's what she said.
Either of you go to Fairview Road that night?
We did not.
And at some point, you left. You recall about what time that you left the waterfall?
It was shortly after 12 o'clock, maybe 12:10 or so.
And when did you leave in reference to sort of the rest of the group?
Sure. Matt and I stayed back a little bit. We helped clean up the table with the bottles and glasses. We spoke to the band briefly, told them how well they played. So we were a little bit late, maybe a couple minutes later than the rest of the group.
Nice.
And when you exited, did you know where your wife was?
I did. I knew where she was.
Where was she?
She was parked out front on Washington Street.
And so you were parked in the lot and she was parked on Washington Street? Is that
Yes.
correct? And when you came outside, what, if anything, did you observe about sort of the weather or what was going on?
It was very cold, and it just started to snow. I don't even think there was a dusting on the ground or barely a dusting on the ground.
And so at that point, could you still sort of see like blacktop on pavement?
Yes.
When you got to your car, what, if anything, did you have to do to sort of get your car ready to go, or clean off the car or anything like that?
I didn't need a scraper or anything. I just turned on my windshield wipers and it cleaned the snow off.
Now, as far as you
snow.
mentioned that you and Mr. McCabe were sort of the last to leave from the group, do you know?
I don't miss that type of snow where it's like you had to like get up early, defrost your windshield, scrape it off, get the ice off. Like, oh,
What order
Getting
sort of the rest of the
chills.
group had left in?
Generally, yes.
And generally, what you recall?
There was a larger group that left right before us. I believe my wife was part of that group. Jen was in that group, and Karen was in that group.
You mentioned that your wife was sort of gravitated towards the other end of the table where some of the other women were at. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So who was, as far as the women that you're referencing, who was in that group that your wife was conversing?
I know it was Karen was part of that group, and Jennifer was part of that group as well.
And that'd be Jennifer McCabe, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd just like to publish this brief.
what is that? Oh my God, can we see anything? Okay, a little bit. Barely.
When it gets to 10:59.
It's the band. I guess this is the table where they're at.
Thank you.
Fucking time.
So, Mr. Colkey, what's up on the screen as Exhibit 53? Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize?
It's the inside of the waterfall bar.
Hi, Tracy.
And
Hello.
before you on that desk, I believe there should be
How are you doing today?
a laser pointer.
Yes.
So if you could just grab that and sort of click the button on top when I ask you to.
Yes.
So with reference to this video,
Oh, you're in Chicago? Oh, man, my brother's in Chicago. We're going to visit Chicago in a couple of weeks, maybe.
you see yourself.
Weather should be nice.
Yes, I do.
You could just draw the jury's attention to sort of where you are.
Black and white shirt.
And from that specific area, sort of where you are, do you recognize anybody else in that sort of general area of the frame?
Yes, I do.
If you could just draw the jury's attention to who you recognize and where they are.
I believe that's Matt McCabe right there to my right, and John O'Keefe to my left, in front of me to my left.
Now, that area of the table where you indicated your wife was with another group of women further away from you, where would that be if you see?
The numbering is there, so I can't really see, but it was towards this side.
And further down the table, is that where people that you were less familiar with, is that where they were?
Correct. Yes.
Who's going to be defendant?
You're in Vegas? How do you like Vegas so far?
Thanks, sir. I have no further questions.
Because you and I have never actually met.
We have not.
We've never had a conversation.
Have not.
We've certainly never had an interview about this case.
Have not.
So this is our first time visiting about this situation.
Yes.
Cross.
When did you say you first met Ms. Reed?
I believe it was towards the end of the summer of 2020.
Okay. And that was over an event at
No,
his house?
I don't know if it was John's niece's birthday party or so, but I was dropping my daughter off at John's house.
Okay. That sort of dovetails into my next question. You and your wife and y'all's kids did have some sort of relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Reed, and Mr. O'Keefe's niece and nephew.
Yes.
In other words, the kids got along well.
Yes, absolutely. And they're still friends.
As the adults, you wanted to make sure that you could facilitate play dates, get-togethers, things of that nature for the children.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you remember a situation in which Ms. Reed had arranged a relatively elaborate 13th birthday party for Mr. O'Keefe's niece, a scavenger hunt of some sorts.
Yes.
So I'm going to see counsel sidebar for this, please.
Oh, I wish we can hear the arguments in open court.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
With regard to the last question I asked, you recall an event in which Ms. Reed had organized a relatively elaborate 13th
Hi, Mom. How are you doing today? How's it going?
birthday party for Mr. O'Keefe's niece, correct?
Yes.
And one of your children was actually invited to that.
You haven't followed this trial, so you're kind of lost. The general gist of it is that this is Karen Reed right here. She's the one who's on trial right now, and she's accused of driving drunk and hitting her car, hitting her boyfriend with her car, and then leaving him out in the snow. That's what she's accused of. However, she's saying that, like, well, I dropped off my boyfriend off at this house where everyone was supposed to go drinking afterwards. He went inside, and then I woke up a couple hours later and realized he wasn't there. So she was like screaming, she was panicking, she was trying to figure out where he was. And now she's saying that, now that she has like more information, she's saying that like, oh, well, it wasn't me. I'm being framed by the people in the house, law enforcement's involved and all that stuff. So it's like a murder mystery. I don't really have super strong feelings yet because we're slowly unraveling everything, but it's a pretty interesting case.
Yes.
Did you actually go
Berta says, call her. Tara said, fuck off. Hello, Abam. How are you doing today? How's it going?
accompany your child at the 13th birthday party?
I did not.
Did your wife?
I don't know. She generally keeps a social calendar for the kids, but I don't know if she did.
So it could have been a situation, Mr. Kolakithis, in which you just dropped the child off and
Yes, correct.
enjoyed the birthday party.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. But you had no problems or no qualms with Miss Reed, Mr. O'Keefe being caretakers over your children?
Absolutely not.
You said that you didn't socialize as couples all that often, but there were times in which you did socialize with them.
Yes.
About how many times would you say?
A handful of times, maybe,
Okay, 5 or 6?
if that.
Over the course of how long?
Since 2020 to 2022, 2 years, less than 2 years.
Focusing your attention more toward the end of that time period that you just mentioned, for 2022, when you socialized with Ms. Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, did you ever see any sort of tension between the two of them?
Not at all.
Did they seem like a normal, loving
Maybe the lawyer's accused of advising him to avoid coming in the house during the investigation. Are you talking about the guy who's on the stand right now? Sorry, the guy who's on the stand right now?
couple?
Absolutely.
I don't think he ever made it back to the house. I think like they were out drinking and then he probably just went home with his wife, which is good for them.
They were affectionate and normally affectionate with one another?
Absolutely.
Do you ever have any question about the nature of their relationship, any toxicity in the relationship, or any overt indicators that they weren't getting along?
Not to my knowledge, not at all.
Matter of fact, you spent more time with Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
Anybody else in the force, correct?
Yes. Other than my wife. I mean, force of
That's a good catch. You're going to pay for that later. Fair enough.
I get brownie points for that, right?
Let me see if I can restate it a little bit better. Between Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, you spent more time with Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
Fair enough. You knew that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed had rekindled a previous relationship from years earlier.
Yes, I did.
And you knew that Mr. O'Keefe was excited about that.
Yes.
I want to draw your attention to the late night hours of January 28th, going into the early morning hours of January 29th, if I could. Specifically at the waterfall. Did you get to the waterfall before Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed got there?
Yes, I did.
How long before?
So I got there around 9 and they got there shortly before 11. So 2 hours.
While at the waterfall, did you have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Reed or Mr. O'Keefe just in normal conversation?
Yes, I did.
You engaged both of them, as a matter of fact, didn't you?
Yes.
Was there a time in which Ms. Reed was actually singing John's praises that night?
Yes, I did.
What a great dad he was.
Yep.
Objection, move to strike.
I'm going to strike that. Next question.
At any point, did you have an opportunity to hear Mr. O'Keefe
Hearsay?
talk about Ms. Reed and the nature of their relationship or any events surrounding their relationship?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
I had heard that they were planning vacations in the future.
Were you aware of the time frame of those vacations in the future? Next week, next month, next year?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Joyce, feel free to stand up and stretch.
Because you have to have a trial in order to prosecute someone. Or if they decide to take a plea deal. You can't just be like, okay, you're guilty, you're fucked, we're just going to lock you up. You have to have a trial.
There was nothing eventful at the bar, while you were at the bar with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, that comes to mind in terms of any kind of tension or fight that night?
Tension or fight? Absolutely not.
No argument that was audible to you?
Absolutely not.
You didn't see any body language between the two of them that would suggest an argument or fight or tension?
In fact, I noticed the opposite.
Describe that.
They were affectionate toward each other, loving toward each other, and to the point where my wife even made a comment, why are you not like that with me?
You had something to live up to.
Yes. That's why I needed the brownie points earlier.
I want to shift gears for a second and pinpoint another time at the bar. Was there a time at the bar where you noticed any individuals with their fists up and engaged in some sort of conduct that looks a little like this?
No, I didn't observe that.
You don't recall that?
No.
Pan over to the attorney. What was he doing? I can't see.
Sparring with one another?
Not that I saw.
Wrestling?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
He's really likable.
I'd like, if I could, Mr. Kolakithis, and with the
The
court's
lawyer or this guy?
permission, refer to Exhibit 53.
Okay.
There are several, Your Honor, so
So if you're going to talk about it, talk it sidebar. Okay, so
this is the clip ending in 5959, because there's one time in 59.
Okay, I'm going to slow it down. So again, the defense attorney is trying to say that Karen Reed's boyfriend, John O'Keefe, who's a victim in here, got beat up by the people that were in the house. And so maybe the lawyer's trying to show that, like, see, look, maybe there's some animosity right here. But I don't know. It could just be something you're just doing just for, I don't know, just like for fun.
59.
As a joke. Like, no aggression behind it. But we'll see.
May I play this for the jury?
yes.
Thank you. I'm going to play about 10 seconds, Mr. Kolakithis, and then stop it and ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
Do I know if she's been locked up or free this whole time? I believe she made bail. What am I looking at?
Okay, if we could pause.
I don't know if
I just wanted to play a couple of seconds to see if you recognize any of what's displayed in this video.
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
How do I I was there that night.
I guess my question is, do you recognize this as being a surveillance video from the 28th going into the morning of the 29th?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I want to draw your attention to the individuals that are toward the top.
She looks mean. I mean, I think I have resting mean face too. Oh, the witness?
Okay. If I could draw your attention to the individuals at the top, can you name the folks that we're seeing and describe what they're wearing for the jurors so we have an understanding of who we're looking at?
Okay. That's me in the white and black.
Okay.
That's Matt to my right.
Okay.
A little hard of seeing, but I think that's John right there.
Looks like his outfit.
And I thought I saw Karen earlier right in
I think I saw her hair too around here.
this area while you were displaying the video.
And what about the two gentlemen with their backs to us?
I know I met them that evening, but I can't tell from behind like this.
Understood. With the court's permission, could we just go ahead and play this through? I'd like to run it through to about the runtime of 11:08, but I'll ask that the video be paused momentarily.
11:08, so just one more second.
Runtime, sorry. Runtime 11:08, so probably about 4 minutes.
Okay.
3 minutes, 4 minutes. May I?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you guys see this in the chat? It's kind of hard. Okay, I see Karen. I think she's like, that's her right there with her head flung back. Like she's laughing. Actually, no, I can't tell. There's two women here with long hair. I can't tell.
Pause it.
No, this one looks like long
Having
hair.
seen this run forward just a little bit, do you see an individual here with long hair?
So
It's
you're
hard for me.
squinting. Are you having difficulty?
Yes, I am having difficulty. Could you blow it up a bit or?
I don't think so. Our technology is good.
All right, y'all. I need you guys to turn down the spice level in the chat a little bit. All right, just turn it down. Turn it down.
But
a
I'm
bit.
getting a shake of the head.
My eyes are not good. I can tell you that.
I could barely see what's going on here. I think that's Karen Reed.
Let's just go ahead and play it forward with the court's permission.
I guess they're not allowed to zoom and enhance it, right?
All right, but if you can't see it, I don't want you to guess.
So this, are you talking right here?
Yes.
That looks like Karen.
Okay. May we play it forward, Your Honor?
Yes.
Looks like Karen's hugging everyone. I mean, it looks like people are just like drinking, drunk, having a good old time. See some hugs in there.
Pause it. I ask you to draw your attention to the two gentlemen in the foreground, right there. Can you describe what they're doing?
It looks like they're in a stance that you described earlier with fists up.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Okay, so I'm sustaining that objection, but come on up.
Someone pointed out that every time the judge coughed, the prosecution objected. Does that seem true? So far, the judge seems to be okay to me. I have no issues with the judge. I haven't been paying attention to the coughs and stuff like that. I think I could hear her breathing into the microphone. I mean, it looks like play fighting, play sparring. I know guy friends that do that all the time.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Another question, and if you're having trouble seeing, just let me know. Do you see the person in the far right?
Yes, I do.
Who's that?
Me.
And what do you seem to be, or what do you appear to be looking at, if anything?
I appear to be looking in that direction.
Okay. Can we go ahead and play this forward?
they doing? It looks like a sumo wrestling stance for a second. I don't know. It just looks like they're play fighting.
Thoughts? Just go keep this. Do you recall engaging with the two men in any sort of
Slap boxing? No.
conversation? The two men with their backs facing to us.
I mean, I can see it. I honestly do not recall it, but yeah.
Do you recall ever being introduced to those two gentlemen?
Yes.
Who are they?
Brian Albert, Brian Higgins.
And which one is which? Left and right.
Left is Albert, right is Higgins.
We'll go like this.
I'm going to speed it up just a tiny bit. Oh, I mean, everyone's like laughing. Like, they're all having a good time. Testosterone. Yeah, I have some friends that love wrestling in their boxers when they're drunk.
Scroll, keep this. Can I draw your attention to the upper right? Do you recognize the person facing
Those are like my old, like early 20s, mid 20s friends.
the camera in the upper right corner?
Hi, Ink.
Yes, I do.
Who's that?
What did you miss so far? We had some friends that testified, friends of John O'Keefe, Karen Reed, people who are hanging out at the bar right now. So that's where we're at. We're at the bar footage. This is the bar that they went to, the waterfall. And everyone seems to be having a good time. They're drinking, they're laughing, they're hugging. Play fighting right here.
John O'Keefe.
30 more seconds, John.
Okay.
Yeah, alcohol and like wrestling just seems stupid.
Your Honor, we paused at 11:08. If I could ask a couple of other questions, and I think we can leave the lights down.
Why is the chat attacking people? Because they believe Karen is guilty. People just have really strong feelings about this case, similar to the Nicolay Mew Apple River stabbings. Just very, very strong feelings about this case. But, you know, I feel like we're just in the very beginning. I don't know why we have strong feelings on whether or not Karen is guilty or not yet. There's so much evidence we have to go through. Eyewitness testimony, evidence, I don't know. Like, even though there were a lot of like things that were released before the trial happened, I mean, there's just so much that we just have to go through like in the actual trial. So I don't really have strong feelings yet. I'm just kind of like chilling here.
Because I'm going to ask another, with the court's permission, another clip you played. Mr. Kolakifas, you indicated that you don't recall the events that you're seeing. Is that still the case, or has your recollection been refreshed about what you were witnessing?
I honestly don't remember what appears to be play fighting. I don't remember that.
If we could move to runtime 1636, with the court's permission.
Okay.
Okay, 11:55.
Your Honor, we play 1636.
So they should be about leaving the bar soon. Whatever happened to the Apple River stabbing guy anyways, he was found guilty and his sentencing will be in July. So we'll definitely watch that.
And pausing. Do you see yourself in the upper right-hand corner?
Yes, I do.
And do you see the two individuals, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, in the foreground?
Yes, I do.
That's right.
What the fuck is going on? Are they just tickling each other? Wrestling? Yeah, wrestling.
Was it?
Okay, they're just playing around.
Do you see, at this point, I know it's difficult, do you see John O'Keefe anywhere in the frame at this juncture?
No.
I do not see him.
Okay. Okay. Button pause. And now taking a look at the individual in the top of the screen, do you see that person?
Yes, I do.
Who's that?
John O'Keefe.
And what direction? Is he facing us or facing away from us?
He's facing us. It looks like he's facing us.
So he would be facing the two individuals with their back to us?
Yes.
and it appears to be standing across the table, across the bar table.
Yes.
I'm going to play that for a second.
They're kissing it out right now. They're hugging it out. Boys will be boys.
I asked you who this individual is, fur coat,
My wife.
hanging on the coat.
It's my wife.
Okay. And are you still in the same spot, upper right-hand corner?
Yes, I am.
And where's Mr. O'Keefe?
Across. He's now facing the other way,
Thank you.
away from us.
Who can take this down?
Do girls ever play fight? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Depends.
Appear to be two individuals touching each other. Did you engage in any sort of roughhousing or play fighting that night?
I did not.
Did you engage in any grappling or wrestling that night?
I did not.
Did you see John O'Keefe engage in any wrestling or grappling or play fighting?
I do not recall him doing that.
Or do you recall him doing any sparring?
I do not recall him doing that.
Do you recall him ever putting his fists up toward any other person in that bar that night?
I do not recall him doing that.
That's all I have for this witness, Sean.
All right.
Oh,
Any?
just a moment. I'm sorry.
Next witness.
I'm going to get that in 1636. I'm fine. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lally, any follow-up?
Mr. Cole Lakeithis.
Sounds Greek, right? Kolakithis?
As far as your observations of Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed and their relationship, you saw what they sort of depicted in public, correct?
Yes.
So fair to say, do you ever have any sort of substantial conversations with either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed about their relationship?
A personal relationship? No, I did not.
Anything as far as your personal relationship with your wife, is that something that you would have shared or discussed with Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed?
I'm not sure. Are you asking me if I knew something about their relationship I would share with my wife or vice versa?
So what I'm asking is from the other side, okay? So you didn't discuss really Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed's relationship with them, correct?
Correct.
And so what I'm
He's just trying to show that they're not. What is this menstrual thing? He's trying to show that they're not close enough to confide in each other in like relationship stuff. So
asking now is you didn't discuss your own relationship with your wife with Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed, correct?
That is correct.
Now, with reference to what you were just shown up on the screen, that was so memorable that you testified you don't have a memory of it, correct?
The which part?
The whatever that was between two individuals play fight.
I do not recall that.
And as far as yourself, within that video, did you observe yourself appear to sort of be laughing while that was going on?
I did. I don't know if I was necessarily looking at them or the other side of the table, but yes, I did observe myself laughing.
Nothing further.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
Okay.
Mr. O'Keefe, just one more question.
how can anyone explain her being in a panic about him not being home at 5 a.m.? I don't know. If you're like arguing for Karen Reed, maybe it's like John O'Keefe usually comes home and him not coming home that one time. Maybe she panicked, or there was some cheating allegations going on. Maybe she thought that he was out cheating and that's why she was panicking, trying to locate him. Those are the only two that I can come up with right now. But yeah. Or she wanted to establish, an alibi and have a bunch of people be there when she discovered the body. I don't know. I'm not quite sure yet. Hi, Leela. How are you doing today?
Just one more question. You testified previously at another hearing that Karen Reed, quote, was actually singing John's praises about how good of a person he was, a father figure, for taking in the kids several years ago and, being there for them and praising them and sacrificing
What
his
is this
life
considered? Like a recross examination, I guess?
to raise them, end quote. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, I do.
Is that true?
100%.
Thank you. So,
All right, Mr. Colgates, you are all set, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. She could just be a very panicky person. Maybe the one who, panics when she doesn't know where her significant other is. I don't know. There are so many answers for that I'm just not really quite sure yet.
Your next witness, Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll call Ms. Karina Kolakithis to the stand.
Okay.
That's his wife, I guess. Karina. I like that name. Direct examination. How's your day going, Leela? Hello, hello.
The evidence before the court during the case, I'm hearing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you.
All right, here's the wife.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
It's Karina Kolakithis, Kollo, 18 and 16.
And do you work, ma'am?
I do work.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a pharmacist.
And your husband works as well?
He does.
So I'm just going to skip through this part until we get to the night, but I don't think we're going to get that much information from her. We just want to know whether or not did they go back to the Albert house, but it seems like they didn't because there would be further questioning about that.
He's an attorney.
Now, if I could turn your attention to January 28th and January 29th, 2022, all those days.
I do.
And recall what day of the week those were?
It was a Friday and a Saturday.
And specific to the Friday, did you work that day?
I did work that day.
And after you left work, where did you go?
I went to the Canton Junction.
And why'd you go?
We got a text saying some parents from the varsity team were going to be meeting up there, so I thought it'd be a good idea to go and stop by and grab something to eat before the game.
And was it
Why lie about how many drinks? We're not there yet in the trial. We're not there yet. I'm just handling however the flow of the trial right now. I might bring up some stuff that I heard maybe like that happened before the trial, but we're just focusing on anything that's going on with the trial right now. That's the best way to focus on it because a lot of people didn't follow this case in the pre-trial stuff, me included. I read some articles, but that's about it. But let's just take it day by day, okay? As the evidence is coming in, as the witnesses are on the stand, all right? Let's just focus on that.
It's
Easier.
basketball.
And then once we get through all of that, then let's start questioning a bunch of things that we have in our head.
How young daughter was on that?
My older daughter played on that team.
And so at some point there was a game for the varsity girls basketball team.
That's correct.
And where was that game that night?
At Canton High.
And do you recall who they played?
They played Foxborough.
Okay, I'm going to forward through this.
Jumping for about an hour.
This is the basketball stuff. They're hanging out, blah,
What
blah,
did you typically
blah.
sort of sit with when you watched the game?
We just sit with some of them were the McCabe's, the Fitzgeralds.
Yeah, no, we'll get to the drink parts because they do draw her blood when she was being hospitalized. However, I don't know if that's going to be allowed in this court because they didn't draw her blood when she was at the police station because they suspected her of like DWI or whatever the fuck it was, right? They drew her blood when they were putting her on that Section 12 hold. So I don't know if that's allowed to come in or not. I'm not really quite sure. Maybe they already ruled that in the pretrial stuff, but I'm not familiar with any of the pretrial stuff. So I'm just taking everything in as they come.
I think we've known them for about 9 years or so.
And did they have a daughter on the team as well?
They did.
And so you arrived to the game as far as your husband was concerned. Did you observe him there?
He was there already.
And following that game, where did you go?
So after the game, we went, usually at the end of the game, we go down, talk to the players, congratulate them, and then I told everybody I was going home.
When you report to jury duty, I'm going to shout y'all out. When you report for jury duty, I'm going to shout y'all out. I mean, when you report for jury duty, I don't have to go to fucking jury duty, okay? They didn't need me. They were like, we don't want you. So I didn't have to go. Hi, Joe. How are you doing today? How's it going?
And did you in fact go home?
I did go home.
And after you arrived home, what if anything happened?
I started getting text messages from my husband, and he said that some of the parents were going to go to grab something to eat, and I should go.
And what any hesitation did you have about that?
I was tired. I worked all day. Pretty much I was done. So I had already almost started changing out my clothes, and I said I wasn't going to go.
And eventually, did you decide to go?
My kids told me to go.
Do you know what her test showed? I did hear about that, yes. They drew her blood when they took her in that morning. So they stopped drinking roughly around like midnight, right? And then she found John O'Keefe's body around like 6:30 a.m. And then there was like some back and forth. And then they brought her to the hospital because they thought she was in danger to herself. They drew some blood. So probably, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9 a.m. I'm not quite sure what time it was. But she had a lot of, a good amount of alcohol apparently. And they did some science-y stuff. And they were guesstimating how much her BAC level would have been by the time she would have left the bar. But it seemed quite high. But that's what I heard of. But we're just not there yet. Let's just wait till we get there, please. Let's just wait till we get there. But that's all I heard from the pretrial stuff. Yeah. Let's just wait till we get there, okay? Let's have the expert go up there and testify. But I did hear about the blood drawing thing. I just want to let you guys know. I did hear about the blood drawing thing.
They did. They actually,
But it seems like she would have been pretty fucking drunk. That's why I was thinking, like, okay, let's instead of looking at the two extremes, right? So the two extreme is she was pissed at him. She meant to kill him. She ran him over. She dipped out. The other extreme is the whole family in the house is in on it. They fucking got in a fist fight. They dumped his body outside. Law enforcement is in on it. Local, state, the judge is in on it. Blah, blah, blah. Paramedics, everyone's all in on it. Those are the two extremes, right? But we can come down from the extremes to a little bit more of the moderate explanations. So the moderate explanations could be, well, what if Karen Reed was just really fucking drunk and she didn't realize she hit him? Or maybe she meant to love tap him or something because she was pissed at him. She wanted to tap him really quick and she was really drunk and she just drove off, but she assumed that he was going to be fine. Maybe that's the scenario. Maybe the other scenario, instead of thinking maybe it was a huge fucking cover-up, maybe it was just the Albert family and maybe Proctor was just a piece of shit investigator, but maybe he wasn't really trying to cover up for them. I don't know. These are the two moderates that I'm looking at right now, but it's possible that it could be the extremes, right? It's possible. It's possible that that could be the, what would actually happen. But I don't know. So far, we just don't really know too much. Like, the timeline is still a little bit fucky for me. We don't have, like, a lot of, like, details. Opening statement, to me, was a fucking shit show. I don't think the opening statement was really great at outlining what we were going to expect from this trial. It was just like, okay, we've heard, like, about, some things here and there with, like, the headlights and the shards. They found it on John, blah, 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 blah. But, like, I liked the opening statements, but it wasn't so clear to me as like the timeline of everything. I was still very confused who's what, where everyone was, and all that stuff. And yeah, like I thought the opening scenes were decent, but I think the defense did probably better because it was more clear and cut what they were trying to say. Love your the monster is dying in the background. Okay, don't be looking at. I have a monstera and then I have a whatever the fuck this guy is, the viney thing. They're both dying right now. But because I was confused, I was like, hold on a second. How are they able to charge Karen Reed with manslaughter? Sorry, operating while intoxicated, like manslaughter, something like that. I was like, how do they know if she was intoxicated or not, right? So it seems like maybe they got her because of this blood draw, but I'm surprised that they would be able to use that because the blood draw was done while she's under the Section 12 hold. So I don't know if that becomes like finicky when you're doing things for medical purposes versus, you know, them suspecting you of being drunk and then taking you to the police station, doing the breathalyzer, doing all the tests and stuff like that, and then drawing your blood. I don't know. I don't know about that. So there's a lot of questions that I have, and I'm just, you know, we're just taking it day by day, okay? Just day by day.
Said to me, you never go out, you don't do anything. Dad's by himself, you should go and just keep him company while he eats dinner. So that's what I did.
So based on that, you decided to go?
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear from the car data because there has to be car data. Like, say she's backing up into John O'Keefe to hit him, right? Her parking sensors must have been beep, 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 boom, right? There has to be parking sensors that went off. Like, it's a fucking Lexus. They got, like, the computer, all that stuff there. So there has to be some data in there that shows that, like, okay, she backed up, parking sensors going off, and it showed that she hit whatever it was that she was backing into. I'm waiting for that part, right? But there's a lot of questions that we have because, you know, we're thinking, well, how come no one saw any of the taillight pieces that Trooper Proctor claimed that he had found on the scene? It was Trooper Proctor and like some other law enforcement that found like taillight pieces. They were like red, I don't know, shiny, maybe it was buried under the snow, maybe they didn't see it, or maybe it was like, how did it get there? I don't know. We have a lot of questions, right? So that's why this one is like a murder mystery to me. It's a lot of weird things happening, but it's where I'm at. I don't know. That's where I'm at, guys. That's just where I'm at with this Karen Reed stuff. Okay.
I did reluctantly. Sorry, reluctantly I went. Yes.
And where's it that you went?
So that's when I went to CF. I'm sorry, I went to the waterfall. Sorry, a little nervous.
And is the waterfall, is that somewhere you had been before?
I had been to the waterfall before.
And where's that located in the town?
It's on Washington Street in Canton.
And so obviously your husband was already there. You took some cars. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And about what time is it that you got to the waterfall?
I believe I got to the waterfall around 9:30.
Got a sub to save Corgi's plane. I mean, it's doing okay. It's not growing out new leaves because it needs to be in a bigger pot and I have to water it more. I don't feel like it. Okay, I'm lazy.
And where did you park your car in relation to the waterfall?
So I actually found parking right on Washington Street, and I was across the street from the waterfall.
Well, see, that's what I don't know. I don't know if they're small pieces of glass or not. I only saw a picture of like one of the red shards they covered. It looked kind of like, I don't know, like this maybe. I couldn't really tell because there's no markings, there's no measurements or anything like that. Maybe they'll get there. But I want to know how big are those shards that they found, the taillight pieces? Were they like tiny or were there like some chunklings, you know? Or I still don't know the question to that or the answer to that.
And when you arrived and when you came in, who, if anyone, did you recognize sort of when you first came into the waterfall?
So I walked into the waterfall and there pretty much I didn't know anybody except for Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, and my husband.
And if you could describe for the jury sort of when you walk in the door, people that you knew as far as your husband and the McCabe's, where were they in relation to you walk in the door? Where are they?
So you walk in the door, there was a band in the front playing, and then
Wait, what? The nurse got arrested because she refused to draw blood from a patient? Wait, what? What's the context on that?
They were high top tables, and they were at the back of the high top tables.
And if I was standing sort of at the doorway to the waterfall, the entrance way in, and facing those high top tables, which side were your husband and McCabe's on from that side?
On the right. I believe the band was playing on the, if you walked in.
Wait, Joe, what? Certified PDF? What are you talking about, Joe?
In the door, the band was in like the top part of the, like on the left, and they were on the right.
And the band that was playing that night, fair to say, was fairly loud in there?
It was extremely loud in there, yes.
And as far as, obviously you're at a bar, people are drinking, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what, if anything, did you have to drink that night?
I drank water that night.
And why was that?
I typically don't drink a lot. I suffer from migraines, so one like alcoholic beverage sometimes can set me off for days. So I chose water.
Now, as far as that high top table that you went to with your husband and McCabe's, were there other people at that table?
There were other people there.
And did you know or recognize any of those other people at the table?
So it was pretty much all of Jennifer McCabe's family. I did not know them. Maybe had seen them around town and stuff like that, but I didn't know anybody other than my husband and Matt and Jen.
So fair to say that you sort of gravitated or stayed towards that end of the table?
That is correct. I talked to them for a bit, and then I think Jen started introducing me to some people, and I met some of her family.
Now, as far as sort of the overall sort of demeanor within the bar that night, within the group that you were at the high top table with, how would you describe it?
Everybody was happy, having a good time.
No arguments amongst anybody at any time that you saw throughout the entire time you were there?
The whole time I was there was no issues at all.
Good
Now,
mood.
at some point later on in the evening, who, if anyone else, that you recognized or knew came into the bar?
So I believe I was actually about to leave, and that's when Karen and John came in.
And just to be clear, when you say Karen, you mean Karen Reed, is that correct?
That is correct.
And just to be clear, what we're talking about, do you see Karen Reed in Portland today?
I do.
And could you just identify as where she's?
Wait, I have a question because we went through the bar surveillance footage. Maybe he's going to do this with another witness, but didn't he say explicitly that John O'Keefe left the bar with a cocktail glass in his hand? Or are we just not there yet? I'm so confused.
She's sitting right there.
That's a record reflect identification.
Okay. And my younger daughter were friends. John, we've probably known for 8 years or so.
And if you recall, when was it about that you had met the defendant, Ms. Reed?
I met Miss Reed at, I'm not sure exactly I think the first time I met her was at John McCabe's house.
And if you know about when was that in reference to this date of January 28, 2020?
I believe I met her sometime in 2020.
Well, they used the leaf blower to blow that area, and they were able to find the clear cocktail glass, but they never found the red pieces of taillight plastic. That's why I want to know, how big are these taillight pieces? Are they like little tiny itty bitty things you couldn't see, and were they like just buried in the snow or something, or were they some significant amount of like chunklings where you should have been able to see it? I don't know, because the cop did say that around John O'Keefe they did look at a 6x6 grid around him.
Sometime in 2020 at Ms. McCabe's.
That is correct.
Hi, Kiki.
And how would you describe sort of the nature of your relationship between either yourself and Mr. O'Keefe, or yourself and who did you know better, Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed?
I knew Mr. O'Keefe better. We saw him all the time. My daughter would have play dates with his niece. My husband coached basketball that his niece played
It says they would smite my husband. Oh God, captions.
On his team. So he was a great guy. We saw him all the time. Yeah.
And prior to this date of January 28th, had you ever been in any kind of social setting out with the defendant, Ms. Reed, before?
I had not been, no.
And do you recall approximately what time it was that they came in and you were about to?
I believe it was around 11 o'clock.
And at some point, did they, and by they I mean Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, did they make their way over to where you were seated at the high top?
They did. So they walked in, and John did his rounds, said hi to everybody, came, gave me a hug, and they headed towards us, yes.
And when they came over to you, what, if anything, happened?
John was really happy. He started talking about Kaylee and how she had just gotten into Bishop Fan, and he was just very excited. You could tell he was super excited about that.
Now, as far as Mr. O'Keefe was concerned, what, if anything, do you recall about what he was wearing?
I believe he was wearing a baseball hat, jeans, sneakers, some kind of top.
And what, if anything, do you recall about sort of jacket or anything like that with him at any time that you saw him that night?
I don't remember a jacket. I remember like some kind of light shirt or something, like a light hoodie-ish kind of. I don't remember a jacket.
As far as his clothing was concerned, what, if anything, do you recall about the condition of it? Were there any sort of tears or disheveled?
He looked fine. Nothing about his clothing stood out to me.
Now, as far as what you observed as far as interactions between the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe that night, anything out of the ordinary that you observed while you were at the bar?
The defendant. Say that again?
As far as their interactions between Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, anything out of the ordinary that you observed between the two of them that evening as well?
I saw nothing. I did not see anything.
And extending that sort of to the entire group at the
See, that's why I can't wait to hear from Jim McCabe and Carrie Roberts.
high top table that you were with, anything that you observed sort of out of the realm of the demeanor that you've already described at any point in time?
No, everybody was having a great time.
To Mr. O'Keefe.
I know that Karen stayed with me, and then I'm not sure where John went, but I know he was talking to the guys probably.
So Mr. O'Keefe was moving around a bit, talking to different people.
This is the prosecutor. Trust me, if it's a defense, you can tell. The defense's voice it carries a little bit better throughout the courtroom. Gotta go do homework. Were you helping the kids with homework? Hello, Chumper.
Yes.
And Ms. Reed was down towards where you were, is that correct?
That is correct.
And who, if anyone else, was sort of down your end of the table? Who were you talking to when Ms. Reed came up?
It was John McCabe.
So
the three of us.
When Ms. Reed comes and joins, it's essentially Ms. Reed, the defendant, yourself, and Ms. McCabe.
That is correct.
And when Ms. Reed first comes up, what, if any, conversation did she have with either yourself or Ms. McCabe?
She started talking to Jennifer.
Oh yeah. Also, if you look at my stream, right up here it says direct examination. That's usually done by the prosecutor, at least right now, because right now the state, they are presenting their case. So direct examination at this point is going to be all prosecutor. Cross examination will be by the defense until the state rests, and then it's the defense's turn to present their side.
First, and then they had a conversation, and then we started talking.
That first sort of initial conversation between the defendant and Ms. McCabe, did you hear any of that conversation?
I did not. It was loud. I don't know what they were talking about.
Now, as far as, obviously you're at a bar and people are drinking, what, if anything, did you observe Mr. O'Keefe be drinking that night?
I believe he was drinking beer.
And as far as Ms. Reed was concerned, what, if anything, did you observe her be drinking?
She was drinking something out of a clear glass, perhaps.
So clear glass with a clear liquid in it?
Correct.
Also, I do notice that her glass was like in a tall, so I wonder if she was doing like doubles. Usually if you get like a vodka double with like club soda, you put in like in a taller glass. So I wonder if it's like a double, or did she just want to get like maybe a single shot and have it more diluted or something like that?
Now, as far as through any conversation that you had with either the defendant or...
Or I guess we can see the receipt. Whenever, I don't know, they talked about the receipt, but they never showed it. So maybe they'll show us the receipt to see how many drinks they actually ordered and paid for.
Did you have any understanding of sort of where they came from prior to coming into the bar?
So they had come from across the street.
And what is across the street?
From the bar, I think. So it was C.F. McCarthy's.
And so as far as the conversation that you, at some point in time during the course of the evening, you had a conversation with Ms. Reed, is that correct?
We talked for quite a while.
And during that time that you were talking for quite a while, as far as, was that strictly sort of the two of you, or was Ms. McCabe involved in those conversations as well?
Ms. McCabe was involved with those conversations.
So just
It was the three of us.
The three of you were talking. And with respect to the defendant's relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, what, if anything, did she say about that?
So she started by saying how much she admired him, how much he did for the children, just how she looked up to him for that. She started with that. Well, she started talking about my kids first. And
okay, so she's got second-degree murder for the death of John O'Keefe, and then also, I think it was like manslaughter with a vehicle driving under influence.
then she started talking about John.
So she spoke about your kids?
About my daughter, yeah.
A little bit of a glowing fashion, is that correct?
She did. She always had a way of like saying, I don't know, she seemed to love my younger daughter, and she said that she really liked my daughter's relationship with John's niece. So she first started with that conversation, and then she went on talking about John and his relationship.
Hey, Nicole,
And
how
then
are
after
you?
she talked a little
How's it going? Hello, hello.
bit about that, what, if anything else, did she talk about?
So she started talking about how much he sacrifices, how he's like unconditionally puts all his time and effort into the kids, how she admired him for that, and how she also wished that some of the family members would step up and help out a little bit.
Yeah, so specifically second-degree murder, motor vehicle manslaughter while under the influence, and leaving the scene of a collision causing injury or death.
More, because he took all the burden on himself.
And what, if anything, else did she say about that in relation to sort of their relationship?
Just that she wished they had a little bit more time to, go out, go on dates, go on vacation. But she did mention that they had planned a trip or something like that she was excited about.
Now,
I don't know if it's a Massachusetts thing or if they were just relying on that blood test that they took. I am not quite sure either about how they charge her. I don't know, because so far from what we heard so far, like the paramedics or law enforcement, no one said that like it looked like she was like slurring her words, that she was drunk. You could smell alcohol in her breath. Also from the friends, they said like, oh, she looked okay. She wasn't slurring her words or anything like that. So I'm not really quite sure how they got to that. My guess is maybe that blood draw. I don't know.
about what time would you say it was that you left from the waterfall?
I think everything started wrapping up around midnight.
And prior to that, what, if any, discussion did you hear or were you a part of as far as anybody talking about where to go next?
So I think everybody was having a really good time. So there was conversation first about where could people go, and there was talk about maybe going across the street to the pizza place.
And what pizza place is across?
There's a pizza place called D&E Pizza, and the owner happens to be there that night. So I think someone brought it up, or there was some conversation amongst the group like, hey, let's go there, and he said no.
And what, if anything, did you hear the defendant, Ms. Reed, say in reference to going?
She just seemed like willing to go.
Was that something that she mentioned once or more?
I believe she mentioned it more than once, but I don't remember like at this moment. But
was your memory exhausted as to that?
Say that. Could you rephrase that?
Memory exhausted as to that particular point.
I believe it was more than once. Is that your question?
That's my question.
Yes.
Now, other than that, what, if any, other discussion was there as far as where people were wanting to go or intending to go after the war?
So after that was kind of, put to rest, then I think there was discussion about, well, I think Jen McCabe brought up, let's go to my sister's house.
And is that somewhere that you or your husband, to your knowledge, had ever been to before?
We had never been to her house before, no.
And was that something that was sort of a private invitation, or was that sort of open to the group at the table?
I think it was said out loud, like, hey, anybody wants to go, we can go to my sister's on Fairview. I wasn't specifically invited myself. I just think it was.
And that's what Karen said. Karen said that no one really invited her, so she wasn't sure she was invited or not, but it seems like it was an open invite. It's possible maybe Karen Reed just didn't hear that it was shouted out loud.
Put out there.
Because that's going to be important for later on when she drops off John O'Keefe, because she felt like she wasn't really invited. She drops him off, and she said that he went inside, and she was outside waiting to make sure things were all good, he's that he can hang out with them and stuff like that, but he never called her back, and that's why she got pissed at him. That was her explanation. That's why it's important to know whether or not was it open invite or what was it.
And did either yourself or your husband take anyone up on an invitation? Did you go to Fairview after the waterfall?
We did not go. I actually said to him, there's no way we're going anywhere. We're going home.
And by the way, just to be clear, by him, you mean your husband?
My husband, yeah.
Phew, and the husband's probably like, thank God we didn't fucking go. Holy shit, we'd be dragged into all this.
And around the time of midnight or so when you were leaving, who, if anyone, did you sort of walk out with initially?
So I believe, let me think. It was always Jen, myself, and Karen. So we brought up, and Karen went over to John, something like that. He put his arm around her. I don't know if they had a conversation. They talked. It seemed like they were quite lovey-dovey at that point. And then that's when Jennifer McCabe went up to Karen and said, "You're coming with me." And she grabbed her. She put her arm around her and she said in front of me, she's like, "You're coming with me. You're coming with me."
And just to be clear, sort of how she said that, was that in sort of a forceful way, or
no, joking around, hey, you come with me. We're gonna, and Karen said, "Where are we going?" And Jen said, "It doesn't matter. It'll be a surprise." It was something like that.
And did the three of you sort of walk towards the door to the parking lot together?
Yes.
And where was your husband at this point?
He was behind. He was with Matt McCabe. They were.
Is Jen the woman Karen saw kissing John? No, that was. It was somebody's friend or someone's sister or something like that.
We're helping the band clean up and get their stuff together, and it was the three of us in the front, meeting the women.
And at the initial time when you're walking out, you and Ms. McCabe and the defendant, where is Mr. O'Keefe?
I'm not sure. A little bit behind us. I'm not sure.
Not directly with your group, but
not with us. No.
Now, at some point, you get outside of the waterfall. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And at some point, when you're outside of the waterfall, do you see Mr. O'Keefe at that point?
I did. All of a sudden, it was weird. I see Karen with John, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." I thought she was going with Jen, and that's just what made me notice it. It was that the whole Jen wanting Karen to go with her, and then all of a sudden I see Karen with John. I just thought, it's just oh, so it made me notice it.
And so you proceed to your car, I'm presuming on Washington Street, correct?
That is correct.
And if you recall, which direction was your car facing, down towards the waterfall or away from the waterfall?
It was away from the waterfall.
And who, if anyone else, did you observe walking in the direction of Washington Street at the same time as yourself?
That's when I saw Karen and John walking.
And they were walking in that direction as well?
Correct.
Did you see them approach or get near to some sort of vehicle?
It looked like they were walking towards a.
There was someone named Marietta or something. I don't know if I even spelled her name right. It was someone's. It was Aruba, Lauren Sullivan's sister or something. I haven't heard from them yet.
Black SUV of some sort.
And have you seen either the defendant or Mr. O'Keefe in relation to a darker or black SUV prior to that date?
I believe I had, yes.
And whose car did you believe it was?
I thought it was Karen's car.
And which side of that vehicle did you observe Karen walking to?
She was walking to the driver's side, but again, I was more concerned about crossing Washington Street, and there was a little bit of snow at that point. So I didn't see, I saw them walking in that direction, her going to the driver's side and John going.
We don't know or not. I mean, Karen said that she saw him kiss her, but we don't know if it was what kind of kiss it was. Was it a cheek kiss? Was she a jealous type? Was it a real kiss? Was something going on? I don't know. We're not quite sure yet.
To the other side, but I didn't see anything after that.
And were they on the same side of the street as you or the opposite?
They were facing the opposite direction.
So you were facing away from the waterfall, they were facing towards the waterfall, is that right?
They were just we were in different directions. So I was it's hard to explain, but they were facing, I was facing up and they were facing back.
And different sides of the street, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then you got in your car when you left, is that correct?
That is correct.
And around that time that you left, I think you alluded to it, but when you got to your car, what was the weather like at that point?
It had just started snowing. you could see the street still.
So you could still sort of see the blacktop through whatever snow was on the ground.
That is correct.
With the court's permission, I'd just like to, I'd ask first, again, if I could ask for approximately 10:59.
What's a 10:59?
So Ms. Kolokithis, do you recognize what's up on the screen?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
That's the waterfall.
And is this a video that you've seen on a prior occasion?
Yes.
Now, before you, ma'am, there should be a laser pointer. If there's any need for either myself or another attorney, all I would ask you to do is just sort of press that button on it and direct it at the screen.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So from this video,
Is art by Louis Nevelson? Oh, not familiar with him.
First of all, as far as the people in the video, do you recognize anybody in the video?
It's really hard to see, but it's my. You want me to point?
If you recognize anyone, I would ask you to draw the jury's attention to
So-
that person and explain who that is.
Oh, sorry. That I believe is my husband. With that, maybe I'm not sure.
If you don't know, or if you can't tell, or you don't know the people,
I'm not sure.
okay.
It's hard to tell.
Now, this is
I can't see either.
Kolokithis, it's just from up on this video, you recognize sort of the table that you were at or around on the evening of January
Yes,
28th.
the high top. Yeah.
And if you could just direct the jury's attention to, generally speaking, which side of the table that you spent your time talking to Mr. McCabe.
So, like, if we're pointing to here, I'd be on that side, like the left side of the table, if you want to call it the left side.
And the area where the band was, if you could.
The band is here, like, and that's why I meant the left. Yeah, in the front.
And if you know the front door area, sort of where is that located?
So it's like right there.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could just run this video from 10:59 to 11 p.m.
Why are we asking this? Why? Oh, she died in the late 80s. What kind of work is it? Is she like an artist? Like a painter? Okay, I can see people. I don't know what we're really looking at specifically. There's a band right there.
Ms. Gilman, if you could take that down, with court's permission, I would ask for,
Why do we play through that?
if I could direct you to 12:09 and 50 seconds.
Okay, this is when people are leaving. Okay, I'll slow it down here.
Again, this is Kolokithis. You recognize what's up on the screen as just later on in the evening at the waterfall, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And is this towards the end of the evening?
Yes, it is.
And fair to say that the lights have been turned up, so it's a little easier.
So now I can recognize a few more people.
And so from what you can see up on the screen now, if you could, using that laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention to anybody that you recognize.
Oh, okay. So that's me right there, and then my husband is right there, Nicholas, and I don't know if that's Matt, Jen. And I can't tell because of the barcode up there.
With the date and time
But
stamp.
yeah, I can't see who that is.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could play it from this.
Oh, I see John too. Sorry.
Please go ahead.
And I see John. John's right there.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play it from this point till 12:11 and 4 seconds.
Okay. Wait, also, if John was drinking beer the entire night, why would he leave the bar with a cocktail glass? Everyone's saying bye, they're hugging. John is taking a sip of beer right now in the back. That's him over here. Just standing there. Oh god, it's always like so eerie to see like the last footage of someone before they died. It's so sad, especially like the family member. Oh my god. He left with a to-go cup. I don't know if you do to-go cups in Massachusetts.
Now, as far as this is the record at 12:10:38. See sort of three individuals going towards the front entrance.
Yes.
You just have to say.
Yes.
And with respect, with that laser pointer, if you could just identify for the jury who, if anyone, you recognize from that group.
Okay, so that's Jennifer McCabe, that's me, and that's Karen.
So you're walking sort of towards the exit at the same time, right?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could.
Because remember, the two prevailing theories right now is the cocktail glass is either from the bar where they were drinking at a waterfall, or the cocktail glass maybe from the Albert's house. But that wouldn't make sense to me. Why would they, if they were to drag John out of the house, why would they bring their own cocktail glass with him and throw it out there? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Okay, so he's drinking. Oh no, he picked up a glass. Oh, okay. I see what it is. You know how sometimes when you're drinking and you're having a good old time and you're like, fuck, I finished all my beer. You start looking around, you're like, oh, there's a cup right here. I'm going to just drink. I think that's what John did. He just wanted to continue drinking and it was probably, yeah. I've done that before when I was drunk. I don't know. Have I? Have I taken a cocktail glass from a bar before? I don't know, actually. I know that people have, though. I might have. I don't know. There's been times when I've been like really, really drunk. I might have.
You can pause that. There's another individual sort of making their way to the doorway. Do you recognize that person?
Yes, that's John.
Yeah, it's like when you're like drinking, everything's closing, the bar's closed, the tab is closed, and you're just like, huh, I kind of want more alcohol. And then you just pick up whatever and you just like drink it.
O'Keefe.
John O'Keefe, yes.
Exiting from the waterfall.
Correct.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just play the last 2 seconds.
Okay, so that's him leaving with a cocktail glass.
Now, Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you from the same exhibits, but from Channel 1. And the third video down on Channel 1. If I could ask you to fast forward to about 12:11.
Ew! Blech. You take one, but it had a cigarette butt in it? Blech. Gross.
Essentially, what I'm going to ask Ms. Gilman is if you could play this from 12:11 in 0 to 12:11, 25 seconds.
That never happened to me, but it has happened. It has happened to someone at a party before. Oh god, that's so gross. Oh.
I'm sorry. First, if I could ask you to just pause it for 1 second. I know it's an awful time to pause it.
Oh, hey, Patty Cat.
Before the flag blew in front of the camera, you recognize
I don't know
what's
if I said hi to you earlier, Patty. Okay, sorry. What are we looking at? What is this? What is that? A flag? Get out of my way! I can't see.
12:11. Essentially, what I'm going to ask Ms. Gilman is if you could play this from 12:11 in 0 to 12:11, 25 seconds. But I'm sorry. First, if I could ask you to just pause it for 1 second. I know it's an awful time to pause it, but before the flag blew in front of the camera, do you recognize what's depicted up there?
Can you repeat the question,
What's
please?
in this video generally without what's blocking the camera right now? Do you recognize what?
It's the exit.
So that's the exit to the waterfall?
Correct.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, if you could.
Move, flag. Get out the way.
If you could pause right there.
Is that John?
Individual sort of down towards the bottom of the frame. Do you recognize who that is?
It's Karen and John.
So that would be the point in time when you say they sort of link up at the front door and then walk towards Washington Street?
That's correct.
And if you could, just with reference to the screen that we're looking up here in Exhibit 53, where is Washington Street? Are you at Parkland where you observed Mr.
Patty says, morning all. I flew for 7 hours. 7 hours. Did you have layover from a holiday and now you're dressed up for work today? Oh, I wish I worked days. Oh, that's always the hard part where you have to come back. You're like, oh, I have to go back to work. It's my first day back. Did it show if they both left with drinks or just John? It seems like just John left. So he finished his beer, picked up another glass, and left with the glass. Haven't heard anything about Karen leaving the bar with the glass.
Trying to think of the buildings. That's the back parking lot where they're like where you see the cars, and you have to take a left.
So directly in front of where Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed are standing is the back parking lot, and then to the left is Washington Street?
Yeah, I think you have to walk that way, and then you'll hit Washington Street.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just play through.
What, Nicole? What? I've never consumed a cigarette butt, but I'm terrified to do so, which is the one reason I never drank from random cups and bottles. Guys in my class were notorious for peeing in people's... What? Oh my god, they're the little psychopaths. Where are they now? A ciggy butt sounds amazing compared to wee. Oh god, ew, that's so gross. Oh, who does that? Who does that? I thought you were gonna say that like, oh, you don't drink from like random cups or bottles because they might be spiked with, you know, fucking like, fuck, what is it called again? Not Ritalin. What's what I'm thinking for? The date rape drug. What's it called again? Rohypnol. Rohypnol, right? Yeah, that's disgusting, Nicole.
You could pause there.
Sorry, I didn't see what was going on.
Gilman, if you could just play through 25 seconds.
Okay, so Karen and John. Oh, John, I can't see you.
Washington Street.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just play through 25 seconds.
Yeah, John's got a little. He's got a little cocktail glass. He's got a little souvenir from the bar. Oh, what the? I'm just trying to take screen grabs right now. Okay, you can see the little Souvenir. Shit. I don't. There it is. Souvenir.
You could pause there. Have you seen an individual in the parking lot area?
I do.
And do you recognize who that person?
I believe it's Jennifer.
By that you mean, I'm sorry, Ms. McCabe?
Miss McCabe.
And Ms. Dillman, if you go to the left.
You mean they would put it in an eye drop holder?
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, you can take that down, please.
Shit, we're almost caught up.
I have one moment, John.
Yes. Okay,
and I have never met.
we have not.
We've never had a conversation.
Never.
We've certainly never interviewed.
Nope, never.
So this is our first time speaking.
Yes.
I want to direct your attention to part of your testimony on direct examination and the questioning by Mr. Lowley. You indicated that before Ms. Reed and Mr. O'Keefe left the bar, Ms. Reed had been making some statements about Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay, yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
You indicated that she said that she admired him,
Yes.
that she looked up to Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
She always had a way of complimenting him,
Yes.
that he took so much responsibility on as it pertained to the children,
Yes.
and that she did wish that they had more time together.
Yes.
They planned a trip together.
I guess like I mean I haven't seen her demeanor really before this. I guess I would expect her. I don't know. I mean, it has been 2 years, but is 2 years a lot? I feel like if you lost someone that you really, really loved and it was in like horrifying like circumstances, you would still be really emotional in the courtroom whenever they would talk about him or when they're talking about like trying to resuscitate him or do CPR. Like I feel like you would just get really emotional about it. But maybe it's already been 2 years for her and she's already processed that. But like I said, I don't know how her demeanor was like between the 2 years from the trial to like the day that his body was found, you know? Like they said that like, okay, when she was there, she was at the scene, she was like completely hysterical. She was like shouting, she was screaming, you know? And I don't know. I guess like in the courtroom, I just don't really see any of that emotion. But maybe so far the testimonies haven't really gotten to her yet. But I feel like whenever the paramedics would talk about, you know, seeing John and trying to resuscitate him and all that stuff, I feel like even the family members were getting really emotional about that. But I don't know. That's just my observation, chauffeur.
And she was excited about that.
Correct.
And she indicated that John was excited about that as well.
Yes.
Maybe having to defend yourself makes it approach it differently. Yeah, possible. But still, it's still like a loved one that you lost, right? Someone that you love that was like part of your life. You lost them. You don't know what happened. They're dead now. They'll never get to live ever again. You guys will never have happy memories ever again. I don't know.
Just before leaving the bar, you indicated that Jennifer McCabe said to Miss Reed, "You're coming with me," correct?
Yes.
She didn't say, "You and John come with me."
No. Correct.
That was directed just to Miss Reed.
Yes.
Her liberty is at stake. If she's telling the truth, her anger at the cops would be overshadowed to her grief. Maybe, yeah, possibly.
You're familiar with the town of Canton generally?
Yes.
You know that the distance
Some people can't help it, okay? Some people just have resting, like, meth face, okay? I'm one of those people.
between the Waterfall Bar and 34 Fairview would be maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes drive.
Like, Gwyneth Paltrow got a lot of shit during that trial because people were like, oh my God, Gwyneth Paltrow looks like a bitch. She's just, like, sitting there with her, like, stank face. I don't know. I'm just like, that's just her face. I don't know. It's just how she is. I don't know.
Probably.
So just after these statements were made
Some people just look like that.
to 34 Fairview, 5 minutes later, 7 minutes later, they'd be sitting in front of 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, Ms. Cole, anything?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. So, Mrs. Cole, this with reference to your relationship with John O'Keefe, as far as what you were relaying was what the defendant had said to you at the bar that night, correct?
Correct.
And fair to say you didn't have any conversation with Mr. O'Keefe in reference to relationship or trips or anything like that?
Not that night. No.
And as far as your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe is, do you have any sort of discussions at any point in time about sort of his relationship with Ms. Reed or anything going on in that relationship?
He didn't tell me personal things. No.
You didn't have that type of relationship, correct?
Correct.
And this time out on January 28th, that was the first time that you had been out socially with the defendant, Ms. Reed, correct?
Correct.
And so as far as what went on behind sort of closed doors at their home or anything like that, you didn't know anything about?
I did not know.
Nothing further.
I have one question, Your Honor, if I may. What you did observe between the two of them that night, to use your words, they were lovey-dovey.
They were.
All right, Ms. Cole, keep this.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
So it's quarter of, counsel, just a minute. Sure, feel free to stand.
Poucher still won it wasn't a deal killer with the jury. Yeah, because they probably saw the evidence and thought the evidence spoke for itself, and they didn't believe Terry Sanderson. But with when we got to hear from the jury from the Depp v. Heard one, like they all talked about Amber Heard going up there and how her demeanor was and how it seems like she wasn't being genuine.
And it makes sense to let you go a little early, and we'll start fresh. Okay,
What
so
did it
please
say?
do not discuss this case with anyone.
it's early
Don't
release
do any
day.
independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see here,
So
or
yeah,
read
I mean,
any-
it could be a huge factor, but it depends on what evidence is presented to them, and it depends on whether or not, you know, if they're like, okay, well, maybe she just has resting bitch face, but, you know, at least the evidence is in her favor. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Thinking of Jackie Kennedy and Texas on like the flight home. They're like a different breed in Massachusetts too. Was Jackie Kennedy like very stoic afterwards?
about the case, please disregard it and let us know. See you tomorrow.
Sure, is closing your notebooks and leaving them on the chairs. Gather your belongings. Follow me.
No, hurry up, please.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Is this like a webinar or something like that? Wait, why does it stop at 30? Kezie could be like 50 years old.
Any evidentiary issues I need to be concerned about tomorrow with this next witness?
Not the comma.
Your Honor,
Tomorrow we have a
have,
half day, right?
I believe, provided every exhibit that we intend to introduce through this witness. They are all photographs and/or screenshots that we would have lined up. I'm happy to show them to Mr. Lally in terms of the specific ones that we would be using before we leave today.
Okay, so just so it's clear, anything you intend to introduce, you have to show them in advance.
The numbers are flipped. Whenever someone tells you their age, it's always a flipped number. They're really 58.
I know we've provided them, is what I said originally.
So,
And I certainly will show them before I show them to the witness. What I'm offering is to show them now before we break.
so yeah, so I'm telling you that yes. So
She was extremely stoic while her husband's brain matter was still in her clothes, or was she just in complete shock though? I don't know, man. That could be like a fucking shock thing. You guys ever seen you guys ever heard about that wedding in, was it in Iran or Iraq? I forgot. There was a wedding where they had like fireworks indoors. The whole fucking thing caught on fire and a lot of people fucking died, including I think like the bride lost like 10 members of her family. She lost her mom, her brother, and like a bunch of other family members. They did an interview, kind of like a follow-up interview, and she kind of just like sat there like as if she was like still in fucking shock about the whole fucking thing. I don't know. It was like one of the saddest things I've ever seen so far. It was like she was just like sitting there. Her husband was like answering questions. She just like the life has just like left her fucking body. I don't know. I feel so sad for her.
show them to him before we break.
Exactly what I suggested.
Anything that you intend to show us, introduce tomorrow.
Sure.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, support, please.
Only fan. What's the RPM on that fan, you think?
Hey there, Karen Reed,
Oh, hello, Jesse. I'll let Jesse talk.
trial watchers. You know what a lot of the trials we cover remind me? It's that you got to be careful who you surround yourself with, who you let into your life. Do you really know? I mean, it's a scary thing to think about. Well, that's why I'm so thrilled to talk to you about the sponsor of this week's Long
Do
Crime
you really know who's around you in your life?
Trial stream, truthfinder.com. Honestly, with our content,
Yeah, what is TruthFinder, by the way? Can we use TruthFinder to find out who killed John O'Keefe?
I really can't think of a better service that can provide actual safety for you guys. Why do I say that?
Nice.
Momo, thank you so much for the reset for 69 mods. 69 mods. Thank you so much for your support. How you doing tonight? How's it going?
say that because Truthfinder is one of the largest public records search services in the United States. Their whole goal is to help people like you learn about the people in their lives. And here's how it works. You go on their website, truthfinder.com.
Okay. All right. Well, there's Truthfinder. All right, y'all. Well, that's it for today. We heard a lot from friends of John O'Keefe and Karen Reeds. And yeah, I can't wait till we get to Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe. I mean, they're slowly working their way up there. But we also did see there was a lot of people at that bar. So I don't know how many other friends are we going to hear from. Maybe from everyone. I don't know. I kind of let's just get to the meat of it. Let's get to Jen McCabe. Let's get to the other what's it called? The other person that was there. Hi CMB, how are you doing today? How's it going? Hello, hello. I hope you're doing well. All right, let me get this off my screen. So I think tomorrow might be a half day for this trial, and I like half days. We'll see. We'll see. All right, y'all.
And you type in a name. For instance, your new neighbor.
Oh. Is there anything else that's been going on in the true crime world? Any updates or anything like that? What else is going on in, let's see, anything going on with Chad Daybell's trial? Is anyone watching that? I was watching for a little bit. Oh, by the way, Vinnie Politan, he streams, guys. Go follow Vinnie Politan. His YouTube channel has been popping up on my feed. I was like, I didn't know he streamed. Oh, what is this? Safe to play this. They pick good witnesses, seem impartial, good recall. Yeah, I mean, so far everyone seems to be, I don't know, pretty okay. I know the witness that's in question right now is probably the female paramedic firefighter. They were like, we have pictures. We have these pictures to show that she's really close with the Albert family and Caitlin Albert. So, we haven't really gotten there yet because they're going to wait until they get to Caitlin Albert to discuss those pictures. But other than that, I don't know. Everyone seemed okay, fine. I don't know. I don't really have any super strong feelings about anyone at this point. Bye, Ink. Have a good one. Oh, really? He started his YouTube video like 3 weeks ago? Yeah, guys, go follow Vinny. Go subscribe to him. And go check him out. Go support our guy, Vinny. You mean the couple, the lawyer and the pharmacist? Yeah, they seem fine. They seem fine. Yeah, no strong feelings about anyone so far. Like, the paramedics went up there. They seem fine. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I forgot about law enforcement. We had some pretty interesting law enforcement going up there. But paramedics seem fine. The friends that we've heard so far, seem okay, too. Yeah, law enforcement. I forgot all about law enforcement. That's an interesting one. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. And it's an early day. It's 1:30 my time. So what are you guys going to do for the rest of your day? You guys got anything going on? Truth Fighter sounds like a nosy person's wet dream. You're going to go back and watch like the first half of the stream. Was it like all read or different topics? So they were all friends. It started off with law enforcement. So basically what I did was I already watched the stream and then I just did a recap of the other testimonies. And I only went to the ones that I thought were like sort of important. But there was law enforcement that just went up there to go check up on the house. Nothing really going on there. And then we had like a bunch of friends that were hanging out with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe that night. Essentially saying that, we were just drinking. Everyone's having a fun time. Karen Reed was drinking from a clear glass. Might have had vodka, might have gin in it. They don't know. Maybe it was just water. They're not quite sure. John O'Keefe was drinking beer the entire night. They were hanging out at the first bar. Everything seemed fine and dandy. Then they went to the second bar. Everyone's hanging out. That's where the other large group was there. So like the McCabe's, the Alberts, they were at the second bar. And I guess they decided to mesh the two groups together. And it seems like everyone's just having a good time. No issues with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. It seems like they were lovey-dovey towards the end. Maybe they were like really drunk. And then we saw John O'Keefe leave the bar with a clear cocktail glass. And that clear cocktail glass is going to be very important because that's a cocktail glass that might have been found at the scene where his body was. So, yeah, that's about it. That's all I got for all the friends that testified. But everyone said, like, everything seemed fine between the two of them. But I don't know. We don't know what happened when they got in the car. Because, like, sometimes when you're drunk, you're, having a good time. It's when you get into the car, maybe the bickering starts or something like that. And then an argument starts. I don't know. We don't know. But I'm very interested to hear from the text messages or voice messages. I think she left like some angry voice messages on John O'Keefe's phone when she dropped him off or when she maybe ran him over or whatever. But I want to hear those voice messages. But I'm sure we'll get there. We just have to be very, 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 very patient when it comes to waiting for our questions to be answered. But anyways, y'all, I hope you guys have a good one. Take care. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a good night. Take care. And I will see you guys maybe tomorrow. Maybe we'll stream the next day. I think I might do the same thing where I do like the recap and then we catch up with the court. Was today a half day or is today a full day? What day is today? Oh, no, today was a full day. Yes, tomorrow's even shorter. Yes, tomorrow's a half day. All right, I'll see you guys probably tomorrow because this case has been really interesting to me. All right, y'all, have a good one. Feel free to join the Discord if you like. We have a Discord section. Join the true crime, like the stream. And other than that, I appreciate you